Check 1 2. Check 1 2. 3 go. All right. It's showing up. You've gone to college and I'm still at home. It sucks being here 'cause I'm all alone. I don't want to talk on the phone. I really miss you and I'm all alone, baby. It's cold and wet and the sky is gray. You've grown up and now you've gone away. I miss the times when we would laugh and play. But you've grown up and now you're far away, baby. Yeah. The sun is cold and the sky is black. I miss you much and I want you back. My heart's cold and my life is black. I want to see you, so please come back, baby. You've been sick and you're feeling bad. You're far away and yeah, I'm very sad. Tracy, I've grown to miss you so. You've gone away and now I'm all alone, baby. Okay. Hello, Aeon Puds and Raised Up. Now do classical gas. Oh my god, I barely even remember how that goes. And let alone can I play it. Oh my goodness, I have not heard classical cover. I got it. Never. Next. Oh god. What note is droning over? It's probably just like, I don't know. If I just tune this. I got it. I got it. I got it. I got it. Oh, cool. People are showing up after I played. That's the curse, right? That's the curse. I'm going to mute this so that you can't hear me moving the microphone. Maybe I'll play it again. Nah, I mean, I could if people actually wanted me to it. But maybe later on the stream, if you all want to hear me do that again, I can play I Really Miss You and I'm All Alone. For those of you who maybe didn't hear it, that's what I did. Hello, everyone who's shown up here. I'm going to get started here talking about stuff. I just wanted to start off with that. I got to take this guitar off so that, and now I'm going to mute my mic for just a second so that I can move this and it won't destroy your ears. All right, we good? Let me know if you can all hear me again. Thank you, Raised Up, and for saying I did a good job at covering. I got it. How else do you cover that? We'll get into all that as I talk about this album, and there's a couple things. But obviously, for everyone who showed up here, I'm talking about Chocolate and Cheese Deluxe, right? Chocolate and Cheese Deluxe is it's out. It's been out for what today? It's August. It came out August 2nd. It's August 10th now. It's been out for over a week, and man, it's weird to think about, but like. New Ween. I mean, I feel like at some point, because I don't remember saying it in the video I made a little bit ago, but obviously it goes kind of without saying if you're familiar with what this is, that it's not new music, obviously, but it's never before circulated music for the most part. I go over that in my video, but if you actually care what I think about this, you probably already know that, and I thank you very much for watching that and tuning in right now. You all hear me? Just gonna check and see if you all can hear me. But I'm gonna act as if you can until someone says otherwise, or you guys can confirm. So you can see on the screen here that I actually made this template because I have that little of a life, right? It gets so sad when you actually say it out loud. But thank you for letting me know that you can hear me. So I made this template because, instead of making money or having a love life, I made this template. And it's just all the songs from the bonus disc of the new material, including the 4 demos of tracks that we know ended up on the album. And man, there's going to be a lot to say. So basically how this is going to work is... the general structure of this is I'm going to say a few things about Ween currently, sort of recent news that's popped up. And then I'm going to just sort of quickly go over my general thoughts of just a word or two to be said about the album Chocolate and Cheese. And then going to go over my thoughts on this Chocolate and Cheese Deluxe, both the remaster of the album and the bonus disc, and every single song on the bonus disc, and this, tier list thing that you can see here. I'm going to be sort of going over them, and I could probably rank them, and then maybe for the sake of comparison, I could also see where you all would rank them. And so I could sort of like rank them how I would rank them, and then you all could be like, oh, I would put this at S tier, and I'll put that at S tier, and I'll put that at S tier too, and you put everything in S tier. Anyway, so recently, I didn't think there would be any sort of news currently to talk about other than the fact that they, of course, released this. Ween's most recent show, I forget where it was. Does anyone remember where their most recent show was? Anyway, the point is, their last show they played, I don't recall if they played any of the songs from this crop of bonus material. Maybe they did. I checked the set list from the video that someone took and uploaded on YouTube, but I don't recall if they actually played. I don't remember if they played, like Dirty Money or Junkie Boy or anything. Maybe they did, and I just forgot to see that on the list. But sort of the big noteworthy thing that really should be noted as of, the creating of this is that Diener made a public statement and said that, I guess no, Diener did not say anything this time around. I don't think. The public statement, I could pull up the post they made, but I don't feel like doing that because I would have to go off this. But basically, we all remember a little bit ago, Diener said that he needed to take some time off to, for personal reasons, whatever. He's stressed out, depressed, whatever. And that's, obviously no problems there. It sucks that they had to take some time off, and I think they canceled some shows, but obviously, he has to go through what he's going through. But just recently, after they played on, I guess it was August 2nd, they played, they canceled some dates. I forget where they, the 3 places they canceled, the gigs that they canceled, or where they were going to play. But man, that really sucks. And some people were mad. I know on social media I saw like a couple of people were mad because they didn't say why. They just said for reasons. They just said for reasons we have to cancel these dates. And I don't remember if Diener said anything, or if they said that it was about Diener or anything. I'm pretty sure they didn't say anything. They said they needed to cancel the dates, and my sympathies are with them. It might not be because of Diener specifically, but I think because some people are saying that it likely is. So I'm inclined to believe that that's why. And just because that's currently what's happening with the band, as far as I'm aware, is they're, canceling dates and they've had some rough times. Sympathies should be given to the band and all that jazz, and we should really keep them in mind above all else, because that's what they they really do matter as people, more so than just like, I wish they played here. Of course I wish they played here. I wish they played everywhere, but I don't personally get too mad at them for when they say personal reasons we got to cancel this or that. I mean, it happens, right? So that's what I think about generally them canceling shows. I mean, it sucks. I mean, I haven't seen them since the first and so far only time, to my shame, that I saw them was at the Fillmore in Silver Spring, Maryland in December 12th, December 11th. No, or was it November? I think it was November or December of 2021, and it was an amazing show. But yeah, I understand that a lot of people are mad about. I mean, if I booked it, I would understand about being upset, but like, it is what it is, and they have personal problems. I understand not saying anything about it is a little weird, but they already have said something about it in the past. So, to my shame, I still haven't gotten around to listening to the new old Ween tunes on Deluxe Chocolate and Cheese. We'll get into it, but generally speaking, I recommend you do so if you're a big Ween fan, as soon as you can. I understand you still haven't gotten around to it. I'm not pressuring you into saying you haven't done it already. I'm just saying, I recommend you do it, sooner than later, as soon as possible. Hello, Ween Kid. Thank you for showing up. Thank all of you for showing up here. I'm glad that you're all interested in talking about this new stuff. The first time around, Dean made a public statement about personal issues. I remember that. The newer cancellations were for completely unknown reasons. I'm guessing something on the management side of things. So we straight up don't know officially what the new reasons are. So the whole idea that it's about Diener specifically is speculation. Okay. And I'm not here to speculate. I don't think anyone should be here to speculate and, boo-hoo Americans. What sucks more is they haven't played even one show in Europe since they reformed nearly a decade ago. I know. As soon as I heard that, they haven't played a single time anywhere other than the U.S., at least I don't think. Maybe in Canada, but they definitely haven't played in Europe since then, and that really sucks. Nearly a decade. I mean, shoot, I want them to go out there sometime, but again, these issues they're dealing with are kind of serious. Junior said he was fine, just disappointed he couldn't play. So I'm assuming it isn't that serious of a reason. Oh, okay. I didn't know he said that. I'm assuming he just said that on, social media somewhere, raised up. Do you know where he said that? I'm not doubting you. I'm just, curious where he said that. So that's my general, that might pop up if anyone has anything else they'd like to say about that, them canceling to it. It was on his personal Twitter. Okay. Thank you, by the way, for calling it Twitter. I'm not joking. Seriously. Thank you. Because we call it the correct thing, which is Twitter. Anyway, so that's what I think of them canceling dates. I mean, dates get canceled. This is not the first time this has ever happened. It's just not saying a reason at all. I understand people are a little upset about that, and if the band members are dealing with something or whatever, that's always never a good thing, and should be holding some sympathies for them. Anyway. So that's my thoughts on the band currently. Hope they're doing well. And I saw some footage from that show they played. Man, they're still great. I'm always so proud, really. They're not my band in terms of I've never been in the band and I don't manage them and I'm not even friends with them. But I feel a connection to them because they're a favorite band. And I'm always just proud of them when they're getting out there and playing these amazing shows and doing a great job as old as they are. I'd love to sound as good as they do when I'm 55. Oh, man. I don't think they're 55 yet, so that probably sounded a little insulting. When I'm 50, I'm probably not going to sound that good when I'm 35, if we're being real, which is sad. Oh my God, that's sad. Anyway, let's, I'm sure I could probably be a little bit louder, so if audio hiccups come along, just let me know. But anyway, all right, so that's what I have to say about that, about the new sort of news about them playing live. So I say I've got this screen here. This is the template that I created for ranking these. So I don't feel a need. Now we're on the Wikipedia page here. I don't have it dark themed. I know people will crucify me for that, but I just don't feel like it. Whatever. I went through a lot of the information. I don't think there's any new information other than the thing being out that I need to go over. I don't think there's any new details I need to go over about. Although I do know that I do not have a copy. Maybe I will someday of the deluxe version. I don't have a physical copy, so of this new booklet, which I would love, stories about the album's making and stuff. I would love to read that, even though I have the 33 1/3 book about Chocolate and Cheese, and I have read the whole thing 1.5 times. I skimmed through it the second time, so that's like half time. And man, Chocolate and Cheese is certainly the record. I would love to read this booklet and stuff that they're talking about on here, but revealing alternate track lists that were considered. Oh man, I gotta freaking read that. Man, I gotta get this deluxe edition. Man, I want to get this like right now, but it's probably a little on the expensive time, and money's kind of tight these days. So man, I gotta read up about some of these details they're talking about alternate track lists and stuff, because that sounds really fascinating to me. Anyway, I mean, so let's go over Chocolate and Cheese, the album, and we'll very lightly touch on this bonus material. If you need to hear my thoughts about anything else, you can probably just watch my video. Those are my tentative thoughts before this came out, of course, but if you want to hear the backstory of what this is beyond, as long as it's not beyond what this booklet provides, because I haven't read that or anything. I don't have it. I wish I did now, though. Let's just talk for a minute about the album Chocolate and Cheese. I'm not going to do a full, like, super in-depth review of it, because somewhere down the line, hopefully sooner than later, I want to sort of reviews, do sort of a ranking of every Ween album and make it a semi-big thing. It's kind of a big deal for me, which is like do one video per album. Do like, this is my number 10, my number 9, and number 8, etc. So I don't want to just blow everything before I make that down the road. So you're not going to get a super in-depth analysis and review of Chocolate and Cheese, but just to put it in a general sense, this album right here, Chocolate and Cheese, it is one of my more favorite Ween albums. I think it is just delightful. It holds up to this day. It's a great album. It's obviously a transitionary album. I have as I said before, I have the 33 1/3 book on this record, and even before I read that, I was always kind of fascinated with this album, and this was a big sort of 1-2 punch for me. This was the first album I listened to in full. I listened to tracks off Quebec. After The Mollusk, which was the first album I listened to in full from them, the next one I listened to in full was this one, and it was one heck of a 1-2 punch in that regard, because this album it's so varied. It's probably, I think most would probably agree, this is their most diverse album stylistically. It really goes all over the place stylistically, and somehow I'm always amazed at how they're able to make the whole thing feel cohesive. I guess it could be, I mean, it's intentionally startling when you go from Take Me Away to Spinal Meningitis to Freedom of 76 to I Can't Put My Finger on It. It's intentionally jarring, and yet that opening 4 tracks especially, and the whole album except for maybe Candy, but whatever. It's an amazing ride that it takes you on. It's delightful. It's kind of demented. It's strange. What did Fantano? I know Fantano did a review of this. I don't remember what he said. He said it has so much personality at times it feels like it has multiple personalities, something along those lines. And that's a pretty, that you could say that about every Ween album, but this one especially, I think that applies to the most. It feels like it's all over the place, and yet the majesty of it is this, for going as all over the place it does. I'm always amazed at how cohesive it ultimately feels. And when I sat down for the first time in my high school days and listened to this whole album front to back, it it was an oddly touching experience, and I know you're probably thinking of goofy songs like Spinal Meningitis or the HIV song and tracks like that, but it was the mixture of those with the other tracks. And just the songwriting on here is just so fantastic. It's so varied. The production is very interesting. It is kind of bare bones if you go back and listen to it, but obviously because compared to The Pod and Pure Guava and God Ween Satan as well, although that was significantly more hi-fi in comparison to those two albums, this was such a big step up, and it's not at all your quote unquote selling out story. This album just allowed them to expand their ideas further than they ever could have before. Mr. Would You Please Help My Pony, tracks like that are so much more strange, and they take on such an interesting quality to them that you probably wouldn't have gotten even on such a multifaceted album as Pure Guava or whatever. So this album is just fantastic. I could go on and on about it, and I will go on and on about it at some point, but just not today. The point is, it's a great album if you were wondering how I felt about it. I love it to death. I read a scanning on the Deluxe booklet, and Diener mostly talks about his cat fur cup the whole time. Shoot, I should read that scanning on the Deluxe booklet if you know where you had it. He had that cat during Chocolate and Cheese. Not to be confused with Little Miss Mandy, right? That was a cat. Chocolate and Cheese is a great album that would be even better if the label let them keep their gay sailor cover instead of putting dudes on the cover that, let's face it, is a bit cringe. Hey on Puds, I understand that, and I have a funny story. Raised Up, I love Candy, though. A lot of people do, and we'll get to the demo Candy on this. I don't want to delay too much. I know we're already pretty far into this, and I haven't even touched the bonus material, or the remaster, which I'll get to shortly, but a lot of people like Candy, and I feel like this demo might sway some people, but we'll get into that. Hey on Puds, I partially agree with what you're saying. I understand it's feeling a bit cringe-worthy about the cover. In fact, there was this vinyl shop. I think it was, I wish I could remember the name of it. I really wish I could remember the name of it because it was a cool place. I wish my buddy Rocky was here because he remembers the name of it every time, and I always forget. Wonder Records, something like that. Was it in Richmond? Somewhere around there. Wherever this place was, awesome shop, and they had Chocolate and Cheese on vinyl, and I actually have it in my room. I don't know if I should show it. If you want me to show my copy of Chocolate and Cheese on vinyl, I can grab it. It's just right over there. But it was, I got a copy of it, and my buddy Alan, he got a copy. He got a couple different albums. I got a couple different albums too. No, I think I just got Chocolate and Cheese, and he was talking to the cashier that was there, who worked there, and she was really cool, and he was talking to her for like a couple minutes, and I wasn't annoyed or anything. It was good. She was cool, and she was having a good conversation with him. And then, he gets his stuff, he pays for it, he walks off to the side. I'm right behind him. I go up next to him in line. I go up to her. I don't say anything. And she doesn't say anything. She gets my album, and she scans it and everything. She's like, "Do you want a bag for that?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she kind of laughed. It was pretty funny. So I think that kind of sums it up, what you're talking about, Hey on Puds. The reason I am okay with it in this particular instance is because it's Ween. And I'm not saying that just because I'm biased because I like the band. It is specifically because it is Ween. It's so hilarious that of all the bands, it's a very, you associate a cover like that, an album cover like that with like Motley Crue or some sort of like misogynistic band. And it's Ween, and it's such a non-commercial, weird, experimental album, but the songwriting's still great, and these guys really know their way around a song, and a not commercial sounding, but an accessible to a degree song, well-structured, kind of pop sensibilities. The songs are so excellent, and yet they are trying at every opportunity. The album cover itself, and I believe the CD itself, has a middle finger on it. So it's like they're literally telling you, don't listen to this album. This album is awesome and we worked really hard on it. Don't listen to it. And you're rewarded if you can listen to it. And even, having track 2 be Spinal Meningitis Got Me Down. I mean, that's going to turn off countless people right off the bat, right? So, yeah, I absolutely do not disparage about feeling the way you do about the album cover, and I never want to show it to my parents or anyone. But, I mean, it is what it is, and I think it fits this album. That's why I'm okay with it. It's the juxtaposition. And honestly, after a while, I laugh because I am more enamored by the belt than the other things going on in the image. I'm like, that belt is the coolest, awesomest thing I've ever seen, which, as far as anyone knows, I believe that belt does not exist. It was destroyed or discarded or whatever. And the thing was heavy and it was well made. It was made of bronze or whatever. Talk about this in the 33 1/3 book. I love Belt Girl. Lee Shaboop. That's cool. I know a lot of people love the album cover and blah, blah, blah. And, countless fans have made their homemade sort of version of the belt. And yeah, again, it's like the coolest looking thing. Show us your Ween vinyl? I guess I might as well. I'll just go get the, it's literally right there across the room. So I'll go get that. It is not the deluxe edition vinyl, unfortunately. It's just my older copy that I got at that record shop. And here it is. It's, I still have it. I don't know if it's going to show up totally on the camera. I'll have to wait a second to see if it does. My dad gave me the CD, and this record was my intro. So this was your, Ween Kid, this was your, your first full album or your first time hearing them, period, or just in a full album capacity. Because that's awesome. Because I also had the CD before I had the vinyl. A teacher of mine, not because just he liked Ween, and I introduced them to Ween, and then he, as a gift, got it for me. I did get I'm going to hear about that. First time hearing them. Wow. It's so interesting to me because I've heard, there's two different sort of, other than the Mollusk, which is by default almost, a lot of people, including me's, introduction to them, a lot of people's introduction to them is, They recommend either starting with God, Ween, Satan, just if you're super down with the weirdness and the brownness, just start from there and go chronologically, or start with Chocolate and Cheese and go to the Mollusk and White Pepper and stuff, and then because it's you get a bunch of the weirdness, a bunch of the brownness, but it's a lot better sounding and the songs are more approachable. So it's interesting to actually hear from someone who was officially just sort of started with Chocolate and Cheese. That's cool. I did get the deluxe vinyl. It's so sick. It will be displayed and played proudly in my apartment for all guests. What a great album. It is a fantastic album. As I said, I love this album, and I'm not going to do a big review of it yet because down the road I will do a big review of it, and I don't want to just repeat myself too much, but I love almost every track. Such an amazingly consistent album. It's so diverse. It goes all over the place, and yet this is the album almost right up there with the Mollusk, but I think this is more impressive in this specific degree because it is the most diverse stylistically album they have. I'm always impressed by there's the back cover. See, this is always the part that gets me. I remember when I first saw this back cover, I just laughed so hard. It was so funny. And again, so embarrassing when I had to get this from a record store. It was so embarrassing. And I tried to just act, like how I normally do, honestly, where the female cashier, I like to think I'm a pretty nice guy, and I was just I just tried to make it clear that I'm just not a sleazebag, but obviously holding this album, and especially if you don't know who, this only feels okay to hold if the other person you're holding in front of knows who Ween is. If they don't, this is the most shameful thing you can possibly hold in the world. If one of my loved ones walked into the room right now, I would want to just die. I mean, this is the most embarrassing thing ever, but the album's so good. Right? That's the dichotomy, and I think it's kind of a genius album cover in that way. I want to see I believe the middle finger what do you call it, label? Is it just the label on the there's no middle finger on the vinyl, at least not the first disc. Nope, there's no middle finger. So you got to get the CD if you want to get that middle finger. And this also, I don't think this includes an image of them in this liner, but it does not have those images of them like on a boat and just like fishing and stuff. But it does have this image of them at the waterfall you see everywhere on social media. It's a wonderful image, and there's lyrics and stuff. It's pretty normal kind of stuff for a Ween fan. If you haven't seen this is pretty awesome. But I love, of all people, I'm going to get to what you all are saying, because you all are saying some really cool stuff. But I did, of all people, Jesse Eisenberg. Was it Jesse Eisenberg? Yeah. He is a fan of Ween. I don't know if you all know this. I mean, I don't know how well known this is among Ween fans, but I read some article somewhere where he talked about how Ween is like his favorite musical artist, and he mostly likes theater and stuff, and that's the kind of music he likes, like theater music, but he loves Ween, and he went into interesting reasons why, and he said his favorite album is Chocolate and Cheese, and like I think he said his favorite album ever by anyone, and he was talking about how, you look at the cover, and it is what it is, and then you open up the CD and you look at the liner, and it's like there's pictures of them just like fishing, and they look like the nicest, chillest dudes ever. It's such that juxtaposition, and you go, what? And then the CD with the middle finger, and then you pop it in, and if you're willing to get down with the weirdness, it is an amazing experience. So that's sort of sums up why I think this album's so great. I'm gonna have to put this back, but first I'm gonna read you guys things, and then I'm probably gonna go into the deluxe version and my review of it. I remember my mom put on Chocolate and Cheese and hearing it for the first time. I heard Homo Rainbow, Ocean Man, and Mutilated Lips before, and kept thinking, are these the same guys? Yeah, that's everyone's kind of reaction to them. And this is something, again, that I will go into in a later video. I'm thinking about doing some like editorial kind of videos called Scope and the Lobe at some point, where I talk about like, is Ween a jam band? I'm not even saying that question needs to be asked, but I'll probably just do a video on that and my opinion on that, and also like my thoughts about Ween and their approach to music. But that feeling of, are these the same guys? I mean, these guys were basically making music as if the internet existed before the internet existed. The internet existed, obviously, but it was just a couple computers talking to each other. It wasn't what it is today. Their approach to creating songs just felt like a modern alternative obscure band would. But they did it on tapes and stuff, and they did not care about hopping genres, and they just did whatever they felt. And nowadays, who cares? It's so much easier nowadays to be into every single genre of music. Back then, it was a little bit more challenging, to say the least. Girlfriend saw this album on my playlist. She didn't know who Ween was at the time, and you shed a tear, but it was like a happy tear because you get to show her. Then I looked at the cover like, yeah, it's kind of scary looking at this cover for the first time. It's scary, in a weird way, because you're like, especially, it gets scarier the more you listen to the album and the more you enjoy it, and you realize, oh my god, I'm going to listen to this repeatedly. I love the waterfall image. It's a classic. It's very sort of oddly wholesome. The first Ween song I heard was Pony when I was like 10, because I saw an interview where Josh Homme mentioned it, and I hated it back then. That does not surprise me that Josh Homme mentioned it in an interview. I know Josh Homme's into Ween, and I believe that's why he left Caius and started Queens of the Stone Age, because he felt that they were sort of stagnating stylistically, and he's like, well, Ween, I should just do whatever I want. So that's pretty awesome. But I know Josh Homme is sort of a divisive figure. Now looking at the cover, now I don't even think twice about it. Sometimes I just forget that the cover is that. Me too, absolutely. I think all Ween fans sort of get to that point some sooner than later. My stepdad's a big country fan, and he loves the Ween country album, but isn't so keen on the rest of their output. That's the least surprising thing ever, but also, shut up, Jebby. Mike Roch, I know who you are. You're going to use that clip of me saying that out of context, are you? Oh, you totally suck. Anyway, yeah, I imagine most people who like country, most like country heads aren't going to be into that Ween country, into the 12 Golden Country Greats, but because it's unique. It's not just a country album. It is their sort of twist on it, but the songwriting and stuff is so good, and it's just great. Anyway, so I'll put this vinyl back, and then I think it's finally time to officially get into the bonus material. Not just the bonus material. Talk about the remaster of the album first. So now that I've made you all wait and wait and wait, let's finally get into... there's two things to talk about. There's the remaster, and there's all the bonus material, right? My general sort of thoughts on it all. Well, so... I always have this... I'm being kind of a hypocrite because I always have this feeling of when YouTubers make these long videos. This is a stream, but like these long sort of form video essays, and you're like 5 hours into this 6 hour long thing, and I don't even bother anymore, but I'm just like, so did you like the thing or not? Did you like the movie? Did you like the album? Did you like the thing or not? So I'm feeling kind of a hypocrite that I haven't answered that yet. If you want my short answer, did I like Chocolate and Cheese Deluxe Edition overall? Yeah, this is pretty cool. Do I have my complaints? I absolutely do. But overall, I've said this before, I'm not a fanboy. I'm going to be completely honest about my thoughts on things. I have complaints, but you also know that I'm being honest when I say that I enjoyed it overall. The remaster is not as like noteworthy. There's like not as much to talk about as all the bonus disc and stuff, but I will be touching on the remaster because I mentioned it, and I was actually looking forward to it leading up to this, and I'm glad that it exists now. So about the remaster, again, Bernie Grundman and his team worked on it. I touch on all that in my video that I made a little bit ago, so don't need to necessarily get into that. But basically, the remaster, if you're wondering if there's a massive difference in between this and the original, to my ears, I only got to listen to the whole thing once, and I listened to like 3 or 4 tracks a second time of the remaster and A and B'd them with the original. Maybe I'll notice more differences over time. Overall, there is, to my ears, not a massive difference between the original and this remaster, which is somewhat to be expected. I mean, I know what a remaster is. I know what that means. You can completely change the sound of an album with a remaster, but not the same way as a remix. I mean, you could, if you remastered something, it's just a matter of taking the master and manipulating it, EQing it, manipulating the volume and the EQ, and you could add a whole bunch of reverb to the whole thing, and just that's it, and that is going to completely change the sound of the whole mix, but and it's not going to be a good remaster, but that is technically a remaster. But if you were to add individual amounts of reverb and individual EQ to individual tracks, that's different. Remastering is an art, and it's something that can be done well or poorly. Mastering, I should say. And overall, this is a fine remaster. It's overall fine. If you're wondering if there's going to be a big difference, no. I mean, it's a remaster, not a remix. So if you're expecting something along the lines of that, no. There are only a couple of differences that I noticed listening closely. Again, this could change, and I could notice a whole bunch more differences between the two masters. One moment that kind of stuck out to me was the breakdown in Freedom of 76, the bit with all the backup vocals specifically, sounded a little bit different. It sounded a little bit more full and a little bit louder. It sounded a little bit more in line with the overall volume of the rest of the song, if I could sort of put it one way. It sounded more consistent volume-wise, and it sounded a little bit more full, a little bit more bassy. So that was kind of cool to hear. And it was like a noticeable difference to my ears compared to the original, where it felt a little bit more like kind of murky relatively compared to this different master. I don't know why that is exactly, but I guess it's just more full sounding. And that, thankfully, what I noticed is that, and it's just a tiny little nitpick. I go over this in the video, but just the sort of artifact, I guess is what it is, or maybe the little clipping, the little like clip or tick sound that I mentioned at that one part of Buenas Tardes Amigo. I think I said it was like the 6:15 mark, somewhere around there, the song. You can hear it most clearly there, but it happens a couple times throughout the original master of the album. It is no longer there. And that was pretty cool to hear, like a noticeable like difference that has been fixed. I was like, that's pretty cool. And I do speculate if that's a result of the original ADAT format that was made on. This is not like the most riveting thing to talk about, I understand, because it's just like the difference between this remaster and the original. It's not severe. And I also very, very much appreciate that they left, as of now, hopefully this doesn't change, they left the original up on Spotify and streaming platforms. They did not replace it with this remaster. I really appreciate that. I did notice there was, I actually think that you feel like the drums feel clearer and nicer on Joppa Road. Oh man, I did not listen to that one twice. I'll have to re-listen to that one. I wish I could have re-listened to both masters and sort of A-B'd them a little bit more. So I'll have to re-listen to that. You're probably right. I actually think, if I had to nitpick, I think Roses Are Free. I was sort of anticipating, I said in that video, I kind of wanted to have a little bit more low-end kick to it. I actually feel like the original master might have had a better sort of low-end punch. I sort of A and B'd them, and I do kind of feel pretty definitive about that. I actually think the original master of it sounds better, but it is marginal. I mean, I'm not going to flip out. I'm not going to be super disappointed if I'm listening through the remaster instead of the original master. You know what I mean? And I also think that Voodoo Lady stuck out as like being sounding a little bit fuller and bassier, which I found interesting, because that obviously the beat of that song is very much driven by these like galloping bongos, I think is how Claude described it in the 33 1/3 book, if I remember correctly. God, I need a life. Anyway, so that beat of that song is a little bit strange, so it sort of makes sense that these sort of stranger beats, the more artificial sounding ones, are the ones that are a little bit off kilter, like the one in Joppa Road, which is, as far to my knowledge, it's mostly driven by a drum machine. So those sound a little bit nicer. I was expecting, I'll have to re-listen to A Tear for Eddie, because I always remember the drum machine in that sounding a little bit thin in the original master, and I couldn't notice that huge of a difference in the remaster, but I'll have to go into that. I also was kind of hoping there would be more of a difference in the really loud part, the big distorted vocals in the bridge of what is it? I can't put my finger on it. The "Are you surprised when that dusty dwarf inside? Are you surprised when that dusty dwarf inside? Yeah!" And he like, when he says "yeah," it like it kind of clips, and it's kind of shrill sounding in the original. It's very distorted sounding, and I tried to listen for a difference. It sounds a little bit less shrill, I guess. It never like hurt my ears, but it was like right on the brink in the original. It never hurt my ears, but it was like threatening the concept of hurting my ears. Yeah, that makes sense. Stupid. Anyway, I didn't notice as much of a difference in that as I thought I would. But overall, the remaster, it sounds nice. It does not sound worse. I have that nitpick with Roses Are Free sounding slightly better in the original, but I could just be wrong about that, and I need to re-listen to them, for one, but also it's not a severe difference. I'm not going to be upset about that. And I appreciate that if I wanted to, I could just like, if I really wanted to, I could just listen to the whole remaster and just on streaming platforms, I can just queue up the original master from the original and just replace that with that. If you even care that much. And it's, like I said, it's not that big of a deal. So that's what I think of the remaster. If anyone else has any thoughts about, I know it's not as exciting of a thing to talk about, but I'm just glad, it's a nice thing to have. And that's how I mentioned this in my video. I'm going to stop saying that I mentioned in my video so often, but it bears repeating that my expectations for this entire release are, it's a nice thing to have. It is not, I originally thought like this could be the biggest, most awesomest thing ever, because Ween have some of the best rarities and non-officially released demos and rarities and B-sides ever. This release doesn't quite live up to that expectation, so I tempered my expectation. I don't want to say lowered because that makes it sound negative. I did not lower, I tempered my expectations because I anticipated this for what it is. Treating this as if it's going to be the next, like the bonus disc, as if it's going to be the next Shinola, like Shinola Volume 2, is not exactly fair because that's not really what it is in my opinion. I'm happy that the guitars on Don't Shit Where You Eat sound a little clearer. The guitar sound on that song is insane. I didn't notice a massive difference in that. The guitar sound being a little bit clearer. I don't know if it sounds like you're talking about the acoustic guitar specifically, but the guitar solo sound, especially on that song, I absolutely adore. That is such a nice solo. Oh, it's so nice. Very 50s. And Diener just totally capturing the chill vibe of that song. And it just ends it so nicely, that whole album. We know so much non-album material. It's insane. Absolutely. And I guess so that was my thoughts on the remaster. It's decent. It's pretty cool. It's not a massively different experience, but I'm glad that it exists. I'm glad it did not replace the original as of now. If the original gets taken down, I'll be mildly annoyed by that. The acoustics are what I'm talking about. The solo is super good too, but I swear I can hear the strings rattle. Yeah. I'll have to re-listen to that. My ears maybe aren't the best for like picking out differences between masters either. Ironically enough, musicians have some of the worst ears because their ears get damaged from playing shows a lot and stuff. And I'm an idiot and I need to take care of my hearing better. So, but I'm not completely deaf either. Actually, maybe I am. Anyway, I think the next thing to talk about is the bonus material. So the overall, I'm going to go and sort of get into my thoughts and sort of ranking them. But how do I feel about the overall bonus material? Now that it's officially out, I went in with tempered, not lowered, but tempered expectations about this bonus material. So what are my overall thoughts? Well, it's, being completely honest, I'm overall positive on it. But I view it overall as kind of a mixed bag. And it was fascinating hearing you all, when I asked you all about your thoughts on it, it was really cool. You guys are so much smarter than I am. It's ridiculous. You all had such fascinating insights in it, things that I didn't think about, like, and this is something I really should have thought about because it's kind of obvious now that I'm thinking about it, but I had one of you guys point it out to me and it's so true. I wish I could pull up this comment, but one of you, I forget who, I'm going to check actually on YouTube. One of you had the excellent point that this is basically, because of the era these were recorded in, you basically think of it as, it's like, it is essentially Pure Guava-esque. It's way more similar to Pure Guava, not just because it's, 4-track recordings. I'm assuming it's all 4-track recordings, but it's in that vein where, and they talk about this in 33 1/3, where that was part of the big jump with Chocolate and Cheese artistically. And what they were doing was that it wasn't just things started to sound better, is that they polished the songs. And when you say polish the songs, that can mean just from like a sound fidelity perspective, but it also means in their case, they spent more time polishing the songs, refining the songs from a writing and performance perspective. And you can hear that, you can tell that in Chocolate and Cheese. This feels more along the lines of Pure Guava, where you could see these songs popping up on Pure Guava. I was reminded of songs like Loving You Through It All, with songs like I Got It, where there's just this weird kind of drone, although that's it sounds like something you'd hear on the Pod or Pure Guava, something along the lines. I Got It, with the down-pitched vocals, you could say it sounds like Boing, or I Really Miss You and I'm All Alone. Ween Kid pointed out that sounds like a Pod song, and I felt like such a dummy for not putting that together. Like, of course it does. I'm not saying that he should have realized that but like I probably should have realized that. Like, because he did realize it, and I'm just an idiot who didn't. Stylistically, it's all over the place. Of course it is. And some of the songs are significantly more entertaining and just solid than I thought they would be. Some of them were honestly kind of not what I expected. None of this was what I expected. Except the demos were pretty much exactly what I expected. But, you know, some of them did not blow me away, if I can put it one way. But I was pleasantly surprised that they were interesting and weird. You know, I was intrigued and I was engaged throughout my entire listening of all 15 tracks. And once it started up, my heart started, you know, sort of picking up tempo, you know what I mean? It was kind of a rush. It was like, I'm listening to some new Ween and I've never heard this before. It was exciting. I'm not going to lie. So this was a overall positive experience. I like this bonus disc. The good stuff on here, I will revisit, and I have been revisiting them. And the stuff that I'm not crazy about, I probably won't. But I'm glad that this bonus material exists. I think it's overall positive. I'd like to hear what you all are as we go along and sort of talk about these tracks. I'll pull up the other, I'll get into this ranking soon enough. Did I put these in order? I don't think I put these in order because I'm an idiot. And I'm so about that. I've got that obsessive compulsive tendency of just wanting to put it all in order that I'm probably going to do that. Thoughts on the new Ween archive chocolate and cheese? When was that? Did that happen? And this is not showing up. I don't know why this isn't showing up, but there we go. Thoughts on the new Ween archive chocolate and cheese? Beatles lover 22. I'm also a Beatles lover. What do you mean by that? I did not know. When did Ween archive? Was it just a couple days ago? All the old demos in high quality plus new songs, like Concert's Over demo? What? I don't think I've ever heard Concert is Over. That sounds new to me. Oh my goodness. 2 days ago. Freaking, I'm so behind the news. Oh my god. So what exactly is it? Is it all the old demos? So is it basically all the bonus material? Or is it the demos for the songs that ended up on the album? When you say all the old demos, what exactly? Oh man, everyone's heard of this except me. Not only have I not heard of it, I haven't heard it. Plus new songs like Concert is Over. I gotta hear about that. I'm such a dummy. Well, shoot. I feel like this feels like a big club and I'm not in it. Oh man. New Rips of Chocolate and Cheese demo master tapes. Man, I gotta look into that. I don't want to look into it right now because I'm trying to do all this. But man, I gotta hear that. I gotta look at that. Look at some of the Young Shaolin. Oh, I gotta hear that. That made me so mad that was not included on the bonus disc. Now I gotta read up on what Diener was talking about, but also just talking about why they did not include that on the thing. Maybe they don't like that song. I can tell you right now, I like a lot of these songs. Young Shaolin is better than at least most of the songs on this bonus disc. I can tell you that right now, just to be quite frank. May or may not be better than all of these 15 songs, but I think it's better than most of them. Isn't it the first studio recording of Concert is Over? We have live performances of that song, but no studio ones, I think. I think it's 4-track demo of Concert is Over. Man, well, and if it's all... No, Pass the Bong is an awful title. Pass the Bong is an awful title. Raised Up, you have that in quotation marks. Why do you have that in quotation marks? Are you saying that? Or did you hear someone else say that? Or did Diener say that? Or who said that? I also kind of agree that Pass the Bong's, it's not an awful title for what it is, but it's, I didn't know that Young Shaolin was its alternate title. Dean said that? I didn't know he ever even commented on that. Raised Up, all you people know all this stuff, and I'm so envious of you. Young Shaolin is the better title. I'm so curious when and where Diener said that, if you remember, because you seem to be a wealth of knowledge, and I'm envious of you. While you all are feeding me this amazing information, as soon as this is over, I'm going to have to go check out this stuff you're talking about. But I guess sooner than later. So overall, I'm positive on this bonus material, and I've got stuff to say about all 15 of these tracks, the demos, the new stuff in quotation marks, and everything. So, but also before that, I'm going to put these in order because life can't go on if these are not in order. Warm Socks, Stop, Listen, Earn, Listen, Learn, Dirty Money, I got it. Gotta get the order right. Belgian Stew, Voodoo Lady, Junkie Boy. Smooth Mover, Church Fire, Take Me Away, demo. Oh, Sasha. Okay. I almost kind of sort of had it in the right order if you grade on a curve. Grade on a curve and you'll observe I'm right below the horizon. It's on the chocolate taster cover. Okay, so the original guy who had the Young Shaolin demo didn't know what it was called, which makes sense. I mean, it's easy to assume that. Commented on the original upload, Pass the Bong is an awful title. Commented on the original upload. You mean on YouTube? Like he commented on that video on YouTube? I never saw that if he commented on it. Because he never said what the actual title of the song was in the comment. So it could be corrected until very recently. He probably doesn't have an actual title for it here, or he doesn't care. It was just a song that they discarded. Maybe they had a title, but he probably didn't care that much. What's Chocolate and Cheese Deluxe? Empty Robot Records. It just came out. August 2nd it came out. So last Friday, I guess. And it features a new remaster of the original Chocolate and Cheese in its entirety. And it features a 15-track long bonus disc, which I'm about to cover track by track, my thoughts on it. And I'm going to try and hear your all comments on it. And it's kind of fascinating. It's fascinating if you're a big Ween head. It's not a humongous deal if you're only a mild fan of the band. This is for fans. It's a pretty cool release, but it's not going to blow your socks off unless you're a hardcore Ween fan. And even if you are a hardcore fan like me, I enjoyed it, but it didn't blow me away. But there's a lot to like on here. Again, for a fan. I don't know where Diener commented it. Ween Archive told me. No, we know it's actually called Young Shaolin because there's pictures of the original tapes it was on. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Well, as much as I want to keep talking about this, we need to converse about all this wonderful new-ish material and how fascinating it all is. So, I remember when I listened to this, started up, I listened to the entire remaster one time through and immediately went into, I think I paused it a little bit, and I immediately went into Crappy Anniversary Jimmy, not knowing what to expect. I was so anxious going in. I was hoping that it was going to be good. Please let this be good. Please let this be good. It started up, and it was kind of electric. It was a little bit magical. I'm not going to lie. This was a pleasant instrumental surprise. This is very nice. I enjoyed it a lot. Crappy Anniversary Jimmy. I enjoyed it. It might be my favorite on here. It might be the best on here / my favorite. I think just musically, it's the most solid out of all these. I really like that chorusy, effect-laden lead guitar that sounds synth-like. It's playing some Eastern sounding lines with the quick sort of major pentatonic runs. I also like that there's these basically two different rhythm guitars that I can remember and that I can hear. and they're essentially acting out different roles. One is like the strict sort of rhythm, and the other in the right channel is basically just like a wall of fuzzy noise until towards the end it plays some lead. And they don't sync up well, but they sort of play off each other kind of interestingly. Diener, at least I'm assuming that it's mostly, if not all, Diener's guitar work on this is very fun. A lot of the phrasing of the lead it's surprisingly sweet sounding. It was kind of sentimental sounding, which I think they probably realized, I'm guessing, that while they're putting this together. I haven't read that booklet, but I imagine they kind of realized that they landed on something special by opening up with this. It almost sounds like it could have maybe, it works as like I think this is a better opener for this than Tastes Good on the Bun is for Shinola Volume 1. Like, which gets me hyped up more to listen to the rest of the album? This does. Absolutely. Crappy Anniversary Jimmy. I enjoy it more than Tastes Good on the Bun. So I guess that's a take that I have. I may or may not be the only person on earth to have said that particular sentence. You ever think about that? People who said particular sentences. Anyway, so I really like the phrasing of the lead guitar, and it's this like jubilant sort of sounding phrasing. It occasionally also sounds kind of meandering, but that's to be expected. It's a demo. Like, that's sort of something you have to go into all these expecting. A lot of songs cut off, a lot of songs meander, a lot of songs have empty space in them. Of course they do. These are demos. These are super crappy recordings. They're just filler in between certain parts because it's just a demo. And so that's what's also kind of disappointing is with like Shinola, it sort of defied that because they went in and kind of refined all those old recordings. And they did that for this, but not in terms of recording new stuff and sort of incorporating that into the songs. As far as I'm aware, maybe they did. I would have to learn about that. I also like, one more thing to note, the bass. The bass, I didn't notice doing anything especially special until in the middle of the song, it gets significantly more melodic and more present. It goes higher up. I really like the bass in it. Man, this is just it was a really fun opener. I enjoyed it a lot. I like it a lot. Crappy Anniversary Jimmy might be the best thing on here. It's solid. It's fun. I think it's a better opener than some of the other songs in their actual studio catalog. It's solid. I want to hear if you all care to share what you all think of these individual tracks that if you all have heard. What do you think of Crappy Anniversary Jimmy? And I'm going to ask you about Warm Socks and all these other songs because I want to know. I need to know if I'm a psychopath or if I'm going crazy about my thoughts about some of these songs. But Crappy Anniversary Jimmy, I mean, you know, there's two ways I can sort of grade this. I could treat S tier as if I would any other time, or I could treat S tier and D tier and all that relative to these crop of songs. As of right now, it's brand new. So I don't feel like there's any song on this that I would reasonably put on S tier relative to the rest of the songs in their catalog. I definitely feel this is like an A tier. But relative to all these other songs on this, I think it's an S tier. So there's two different ways I could kind of rate it. Which would you... Because it feels kind of weird not having something in S tier. There's only one other thing I could think of that would probably put in S tier, which we'll get to. It's great, but not amazing. Yeah, I feel that way about all the best stuff on here. Again, not to sound too... I think it's commendable that this material is as good as it is, considering these are just toss-aways and throwaways and demos. That it's not even like they're B-sides or rarities like that, or relegated to soundtracks of shows or movies or something like, Beacon Light or I'll Miss You or songs like that, or Homo Rainbow. Those are rarities as well, but they're not demos. These are just straight up demos and stuff. So for now, I will grade this just overall relative to Ween's entire catalog. If I don't end up putting anything else in S tier, I will put this in, I'll put this in S tier because I feel like this and possibly one other song on here is probably deserving of it relative to all these crop of songs. For now, I'm putting it in A tier. I like it a lot. Again, I'd love to hear your all's thoughts on this. Strong B to a light A is how you'd feel. So basically, I think I like it more than you. I think it's a solid A. Like, I think it's genuinely good. I think it's neat. I also think that it's neat. I'm quite positive on this. I might put this in S tier by the end of this. All right. So, and not a ton, but there has been some I've been hearing from other fans so far on their more favorite songs. And Crappy Anniversary Jimmy, I haven't heard a lot of people say much about it, but I know that I enjoyed it a lot. Warm Socks seems to be a favorite of these so far amongst fans. What do you all think of Warm Socks? Well, what do I think of Warm Socks? Warm Socks, when it started up, it put a giant smile on my face. I mean, Jeaner's vocals, they're slightly sped up. At least that's what it sounds like. Or maybe he's just that good at shaping his voice. It sounds like it's very slightly sped up. Man, his voice it just sounds so inviting on this track, especially with those harmonized vocals and the backing, like, oh, 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 oh. It's just very pleasant, inviting sounding. The melody is decent. It's not an amazing melody, but it's a decent melody. But it's elevated by his voice, which, like I said, seems to be slightly filtered or sped up. And I think it sounds really good. Like, there's just something, he's able to add a lot of emotion and whatnot into his voice, even when it's affected, when they slow it down or they speed it up. I feel like it's a tad repetitive, but if they played it live, it would be really cool. Manny, I feel like you're probably talking about Crappy Anniversary Jimmy. All these songs, I mean, being completely honest, like, pretty much all these songs are really repetitive. Again, they're demos. Like, I go into this sort of, I go in sort of grading these songs as such, keeping that in mind. Because if this was this was on an official studio album, I would feel more comfortable complaining about that stuff. They have officially released it officially and commercially, so I think it's valid to criticize it as such, but I also, as a fan, keep in mind that they're demos. It's solid. Some of the lyrics, I wish I wrote some of them down. Draw a line to your brain, I think is one. The line to the brain is a fun line. There's a part where he talks about getting the blood of the Buddha. And again, with the vibe of the song where it's very soft and very pleasant and inviting sounding, those fun sort of lines are a classic sort of Ween juxtaposition. And I love that. It's charming while also adding a psychedelic edge to this very basic song. I do wish the short little solo was a bit more, finished. But it is a demo, after all. So again, I expect that kind of stuff. I go in with sort of feeling that, right? Warm Socks for me is like an S relative to the rest of the demos, but compared to their discography, it's like a B or an A for me. Jeaner's young vocals feel like a welcome home to their prime time. It sounds, I'm assuming it's because it's like slightly manipulated with tape or whatever. He sounds almost pre-God Ween Satan. He sounds like those recordings, not because he's yelling or anything, but like his voice, he sounds sort of that young. It's, on this particular track, it's because, it's almost, and you can also say on Baby Bitch, the album, it sounds a lot more like that. So you can hear them sort of going towards the songwriting tendencies and the production tendencies, even on these 4-track recordings, of what they're going to try and experiment with Chocolate and Cheese, but they've still very much got one foot, if not more than one foot, in the realm of the Pure Guava mindset. Like, this sounds similar to Pure Guava in terms of how they construct these songs still. And Chocolate and Cheese, they developed them more. And I remember in Chocolate and Cheese, the 33 and a third book, they even mentioned, like, a big part of it was that Jeaner and Diener used to live with each other. So they would just goof around for long extended periods of time when they would, work on the pod and Pure Guava, of course. But when they got Chocolate and Cheese, they no longer lived together. So when they worked on songs, it felt like work. And when you have musicians who delegate their time, they have a little bit of creativity and they really work on something and they delegate a lot of time to it, you get stuff done. And that's what Chocolate and Cheese is. And that's where you get them on their ascent, right? So you kind of hear that transition happening where a lot of these songs, you can tell they're going to take them, or they would if they pick these for the album. They'll take these and sort of bring them up somewhere and then improve upon them and polish them. Apparently all the demos are like sped up by 3% or something. It's subtle. I wonder if that was a purposeful thing or something that was done on accident when copying the tapes over or something. I'm assuming Raised Up that he says that, and that someone says that on the booklet for the deluxe edition, because I've not heard that anywhere, but that's fascinating. Yeah, I guess, I mean, gee, if I got it, it was sped up 3%. Well, gee, I can't imagine how that's like, I can't imagine how that's working. What it sounded like originally. Oh, man. So yeah, but Warm Socks, it's nice. It's nice. I like it a lot. I think these opening two songs, it's well sequenced for this sort of release, this like bonus material, bonus disc, if you will. It's a good opener, it's good second track, good first track with vocals, good track 2. I also think it's an A. I agree with you where relative to their whole catalog, it's definitely closer to a B for me than Crappy Anniversary Jimmy was, but I like it enough to where I'm willing to put it in A. Definitely not S, even relative to all these demos. Like, to me, Crappy Anniversary Jimmy is definitely S relative to all these demos, which maybe I will put it at eventually once I'm done with this. Anyway, so we got, what do we got? What we got? We got Stop, Look, Listen, and Learn. So I remember, what do you all think of Stop, Look, Listen, and Learn? I'm curious. I remember there's that video of, like, I think it's from the Rhino YouTube channel, and they talk about this. And there's like a dude at Rhino who's talking about this, and he mentions how a couple of the tracks, he gets asked, like, what are some of your more favorite tracks from this bonus material? He mentioned Stop, Look, Listen, and Learn. And he says, yeah, it's this like crazy rocker, it's super loud, and it's got some crazy lyrics in it. And I wasn't expecting this, even though he basically just says, hey, liberation, hey, what's up? We're talking about these songs. We're at Stop, Look, Listen, and Learn. So you should stop, look, listen, and learn. From the title, I don't know. I thought it was going to be a little bit more like soft and whimsical or something, like more in the vein of Warm Socks, where it's like, stop, look, listen, and learn, and a little bit more positive and soft sounding. Right after the first two tracks, after Warm Socks especially, talk about your night and day. Just like Chocolate and Cheese ended up being, and the previous Ween albums to an extent. It is comedic how almost immediately repulsive this song is, with really gross, hilariously inane lyrics. I was initially excited about how it sounded pretty heavy with that dissonant, there's like a dissonant lead thing and that chunky rhythm. I think this song would work for me if the chorus hit harder, even though, I mean, it hits pretty hard to a degree, right? But I don't know, this felt like it was wild and weird, but it's kind of grating. I agree, Manny. The background instrumentation is a little grating, but it's very Ween. This whole thing's very Ween. I like this song in theory. I wish the chorus hit harder, even though it theoretically is hitting exactly raised up. Spread some poopy on it. Oh my God, the lyrics are so stupid. They're certainly something. I do like that it features a classic. We get a absolute classic Ween Jeaner signature. Flacco, you flacco. I love the way they say that. It's just so funny. The super vulgar and like juvenile lyrics seem to clash with the more normal sounding ones in the chorus, where it's just, you gotta stop, look, listen, and learn, which I think makes it funny in a way, because they're saying all this insane stuff about how they're pooping their pants and stuff, and then he's like, well, you gotta stop, look, listen, and learn. It's like, what does that even mean? What does that mean relative to all these other insane lyrics? To stop, look, listen, and learn what? You have to learn from me, but he doesn't teach anything. He's just, is it supposed to be Eddie Dingle? It's supposed to, you could say Eddie Dingle, it's just them doing their thing. It's Ween, they're doing their thing, is what it is. Right? This seemed to be almost a really good song. It needed some kinks ironed out, which is what I could say about pretty much every song on this, of course. But this one in particular, it's like, I feel like a solid arrangement and improved lyrics. At least more consistent lyrics, because lyrics are obviously ridiculous, but, stop, look, listen, and learn. You gotta stop, look, listen, learn. Like, that could probably work well, and, like, almost works well, but and it's not just like, oh, it's the, lo-fi, so it doesn't sound good, and that's why I don't like it. I can appreciate the songs and the writing of it. It's just for this, I feel like the arrangement needed be a little bit better, and a little bit less of a grating sort of composition and arrangement, and lyrics that are more consistent and pointed or something. I think that would make this work a lot better for me. Overall, I like it more than I did when I first heard it, which is something I can say for a couple of these tracks. Not all of them, but a couple of them. Overall, I think this one's okay. I think it's okay. I think that's how I put this one. Relative to Ween's whole catalog, I don't think I would rate it that much differently than how I would rate it with all these. I'm almost tempted to put it in B tier, honestly. Relative to Ween's catalog, I would put it in C. Relative to all these other tracks, I would put it in C or B. I'm tempted to put it in B, but I'm thinking about it, and I'm going to probably C. No, I'm thinking it's probably C. I think it's fair. I think that's fair. Captain Flood, fuck what? Wait, what? Okay, that's basically the same. Fuck what? I feel like such a dummy. But yeah. So that's the first 3 tracks, and it's a funny sort of dynamically. You can see they're almost taking a similar approach to how they did. They sequenced these, of course, recently. And, the year 2024, or maybe it was 2023. Could have even been like a couple years ago they did. But the point is, like, recent, modern, elderly, borderline elderly, almost elderly Jeaner and Diener sequence these tracks. Or maybe it was just Diener. And you can tell, like, there's some thought put into, because overall, I would say it flows pretty well. The problems just are with the quality of a lot of these tracks. And that starts to become apparent with Dirty Money. So if you watch my video, you know that I hate this song. I was kind of dreading this one going in. What do you all think of Dirty Money? Do you all think that I'm being too mean against Dirty Money? Do you all think that? I'm really curious. Stop, look, listen, and learn makes me think back to when Dean said, I don't like poop. I don't like talking about it. I don't think it's funny. Make me second guess that. Exactly. Maybe Jeaner wrote that or something. I don't know. It doesn't seem like, that's another thing I'm curious about. It's like, who sang these? Because some of these, you could definitely be either of them singing. Obviously, I Got It. Like, either of them could be singing that. They could both be singing that, quote unquote singing. The one that I'm really curious about is I Really Miss You and I'm All Alone. I wonder who's singing that, because I could see Diener being the one who's singing that, because it kind of sounds like it's Diener singing that. Anyway, Raised Up, you like Dirty Money. Dirty Money is perhaps too brown. I sort of like it for its vibe, but I don't know. Okay, I might be the only one here, unless Captain Blood. I think I'm the only one here who still hates it. I still hate this. I think it's a bad song. It's long. My opinion has not really changed, unfortunately, since my video. It goes on too long. I agree, but even if it was like, I don't know, even if it was like 2 minutes, like, I don't think it would be an enjoyable 2 minutes for me. This is clearly an unfinished song. That obviously applies to pretty much all these. They're demos, after all. And I'm evaluating them as such. I'm evaluating them as demos, but this one feels particularly bare to me. Hardly anything interesting is going on. Other than the goofy vocals. The vocals they're amusing at first, but they really overstay their welcome by the end. And so does the track. It's the most bare bones, like, blues template ever. And there's no interesting phrasing or expression building on that template. It's just, we're doing a I mean, it's the most stupid riff ever written. It sounds like a demo. It's an unfinished song. It makes sense to me why they just passed it off and just didn't do anything with it. I'm curious why they chose this. I mean, it's not the worst thing I've ever heard, but I don't like it at all. And I'm just being honest, right? I'm not trying to get super angry. I'm not super angry. Again, I'd be angrier. I still probably wouldn't be angry, but I'd be more angry if this was an official new Ween album, and it really isn't. It's a bonus. It's bonus material, and I'm treating it as such. It's bonus demos and stuff, right? It's but yeah, this song, it's repetitive, it's uninteresting, annoying, and I don't care for it. Generally speaking, me, no likey. And I don't want to come across as a hypocrite because I know I've created plenty of quote unquote pieces of music in my life that I don't want anyone else to hear because they're just crappy. They're just bad. Not unlike Dirty Money. They're probably worse than Dirty Money, but I don't put those out. And I'm glad that they did not put this out on Chocolate and Cheese because I think it would have been easily the worst song on the album, including Candy. But that's just my opinion on it. And if you like it, more power to you. If you love every single track on this bonus disc, more power to you. And I want to hear from you guys how you feel about all these songs. I like Dirty Money. It goes on too long. Not absolutely amazing, but if it was cut short, it would be a lot better. It would be, I guess, slightly better, in my opinion. But the problem to me is the song itself. I like how they performed it live and no one knew what they were playing. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I did look up some footage of them playing that. That's kind of cool in like a broad sense of just like them playing something and no one knows what they're playing. But again, it was just like a boring jam and I didn't find it that funny. I didn't find it that entertaining or cool. I know I'm sounding particularly negative on this. I promise I won't sound as negative on a lot of the other tracks. This might be my least favorite track on here. Maybe. I'm not sure. I find it so bizarre that Pass the Bong isn't there. And Shinola's 20th anniversary is next year. So maybe Shinola's 20th anniversary. Oh my good Lord. You're right. Wait a minute. Are you right? Yeah. Oh my goodness. 2005. Ugh. YouTube's 20th anniversary as well, Captain Flood. Ugh. No, wait. Wasn't YouTube... I think YouTube officially started in 05, right? Or did it officially start in 05? No, it started in 05, but I think they were like working on it and it like almost started in 04 or something like that. But of course, yeah. Anyway, I don't know why I'm talking about the history of YouTube. Anyway, yeah, YouTube's 05. I remember there was some sort of like, they were like almost finalizing the infrastructure of the site in 04, like the end of 04. But obviously the site officially started in 05 and the videos were in April of 05. And oh my God, it's almost 20 years old. Ugh. It does not feel good to say that. Anyway, but yeah, Young Shaolin, as I said, would have been Young Shaolin / Pass the Bong would have been a great inclusion on this. I'm curious why they didn't. Maybe I'll have to read that booklet and get myself a copy of this of the book. I'm putting Dirty Money in D tier. D for dirty. Where would you all put? What tier would you put? I feel like it's maybe I wouldn't put it in F tier relative to their whole catalog. I'd probably just be D tier in both catalog and this particular set of crop of tracks. So what tier would you put Dirty Money in? Let me know. But anyway, also if you can, let me know what you think of I Got It, the next track. This was certainly an interesting one. It's interesting. The first word of my notes, because I wrote notes down. Sorry to make you think that I'm just thinking of all this on the fly, but I wrote notes down And the first line that I wrote for this one is just interesting, period. Yeah, I got it. It's interesting. It's easier for me to judge this one less as like a song and more as just an experimental track or like an interlude. You know, you can, again, as said before, it's like bowling or a track on the pod. It's very strange, very experimental in that way. It also reminds me of I'm in the mood to move in a way. There's a couple tracks that you could say it reminds me of. It has a similar length, I believe, of bowling, and it has those similar kind of down-pitched vocals. I did like that weird muffle. It sounds like a muffled sort of kick drum sound that's like digitized or something. Kick drum like esque sound. And it's in the right channel. And the synth stuff in the song, it could also be super distorted and down-pitched guitar or whatever. I like that too. It's cool. Thinking of a track like I'm in the Mood to Move, I love I'm in the Mood to Move. Like that's just a fun, unique, strange track that is almost without genre. Like what genre is I'm in the Mood to Move? And I also love that that's track 3 on God, Ween, Satan. It's such a that's like the first track you could almost say where Ween is Ween for the first time on an official album. Like because You Fucked Up and Tick are great. They're noisy. They're like punk kind of songs. And then I'm in the Mood to Move. Track 3 comes on. It's so weird. It's so unique. It's so them. And that's when they go crazy and strange, right? So I find that... So I definitely prefer I'm in the Mood to Move significantly to this. I love I'm in the Mood to Move. This, I Got It, probably could have worked if they improved it by adding more instrumental or vocal flourishes of sorts. Because as is, it's an interesting little interlude is how I think of it. What do you all think of I Got It? I think of it as just like a neat little interlude. So I think it's fine. I like it fine. It is what it is. I'm probably not going to go... I'm not going to listen to it a whole bunch, but like if it comes on, I guess I'll sit through it for the next like minute and a half or 2 minutes or however long it is. It's a fine, neat little kind of interlude more than anything else. I put it in relative to the rest of their catalog. I would put it probably C. I think of these songs, I put it in B. It's pretty like middle of the road amongst this crop of tracks for me. So yeah, let me know what you all think of I Got It if you have any thoughts about it. And next up is I Got It was more of an auditory experience than a song to me. Yeah, I mean, it works. I feel like my ears were being drilled into. Yes, it does. Like drilled into almost underground, like not like a shrill drill kind of sound, almost like you're being burrowed into, like you hear the little like muffled, like you're inside of a cave and the cave around you is being drilled into, where you hear the walls of your skull shaking. I love I Got It. Don't even get me started. Okay, well, let me know why you love it, dude. I'm all ears. I don't dislike it. I think it's a cool little it's a neat little interlude. I don't love it as a song, but I don't think of it as a song. To me, it's like a little experimental connective piece of tissue, you know. It works well in the context of this release, right? It's pretty well sequenced now. I'm thinking about all the tracks, you know. It works. Anyway, so let me know what you feel about I Got It, but I'm moving on to Belgian Stew. And from what I can tell, it seems to be kind of popular amongst the fans that I've heard talk about this so far. People seem to like Belgian Stew a fair bit, I think. For me, I don't get that. I kind of get it. This one is pretty funny in how bad it is. It made me laugh. I counted 3 times. Once when the lead guitar came in, it was just like funny sounding. And again, during the gaps in between the vocal oh yeahs, It's like, oh yeah, it's been a little while since I've listened to this one, but there's the oh yeahs, and there's just nothing. There should clearly be some more instrumentation in that spot other than just the bass and drums, but it's just bass and drums. So there should be something else, a solo or some more instrumentation, but there just isn't. So it's this hilarious, awkward space of nothingness, which is the most demo thing I've ever heard in my life. Because that's what you do in a demo. You're like, I'll put a solo on this. I don't have a solo written yet. So you either just improvise something and it's probably not that good, so you just slap it on there, or you don't put anything on it and you're like, oh, I'll figure out a solo later. It was the most demo thing ever, and I thought it was very funny. I laughed a third time. The third time is when it at the very end of the song, it just awkwardly trails off at the very end, which is also the most demo thing ever. It just kind of trails off at the end. Like I think the instrumentation cuts out and the vocals are still blathering on, and then it just very harshly cuts off. It's very funny. It has a sort of snare-driven train, country-influenced drum beat. And that drum beat behind some decidedly not country-esque vocals. It's an interesting juxtaposition, and that sounds like something you'd hear on Pure Guava. That very much sounds like a Pure Guava song, but it also kind of sounds like a rejected Pure Guava song. And this is another one with there's really hardly much going on. It's just vocals. And I don't know what the lyrics are or if they're funny or anything. So maybe I'll have to re-listen to it more and reevaluate it if I do. I found this is more entertaining than like Dirty Money, for example. So I think it's decidedly better than like Dirty Money, but overall I think it's actually not that great. That's how I feel about it. All jokes aside, it feels goofy. I genuinely like it, but it isn't amazing for I Got It. You think I Got It's goofy? You like it. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty fair. That's like, I'm almost there with you. I like it fine. As for what it is, I don't dislike it. I like the weird thing at the end where Aaron goes crazy and then it just cuts off. Yeah, it's just super demo. Belgian Stew is all right. I like the yeehaw part. That's right, they do go yeehaw. The lyrics, but I don't really like how the guitar sounds with the rest of the song. I really should have re-listened to this particular song because not much is coming up in my memory. I remember it, just I don't remember how the guitar sounds exactly. Jeaner is rhyming like mad, and then it just ends. Yeah, the ending's pretty funny. Lyrics are very freaky. Yeah, I know I wish I wrote some of them down because I remember them being kind of funny, but like not especially funny. We actually already had this song before the Deluxe. It was called Numb to the Lung. Okay. I was worried. Not worried, but I was like, I've kind of figured that would be the case where a lot of these songs, or at least some of these songs, did exist and were circulated. We just didn't have the proper title, which is just, that makes perfect sense for a lot of these songs that, I mean, where a lot of them, like this one, to my memory, does this song really have a chorus? Where it's like, they don't just say Belgian stew, I am eating Belgian stew. And you're like, well, this song was probably called Belgian Stew or something like that. Where this song, it's like, it could almost be called anything. So they're just like, let's call it Numb to the Lung or something. So that's that. Yeah, this song, it's kind of meh for me. I don't particularly like it, but it's more entertaining than like, Dirty Money or something. So I'd say it's in the vein of Stop, Look, Listen, and Learn. Given the two, I'd probably say I like Stop, Look, Listen, and Learn better. So that's how I would say, I guess. I like how so far, even though I don't have an F tier, I could there's the shape of all these squares, of all these songs, of all these white blocks for songs, it's in the shape of an F. That's kind of funny. That's just coincidence, and that's kind of funny. By the way, I made this template, and it's just called Chocolate and Cheese Deluxe Bonus Tracks Tier List. If you want to make your own version of this, then by all means, go ahead and do that. If you don't, that's fine. you know? So that's what I think of Belgian Stew. It's fine, I guess. It's fine. It's kind of meh to me, but it's not the worst either. All right, so now we get to the first demo, and this was, of course, released right shortly before this whole thing dropped. I forget how long it was, but it was like a little while before it dropped. And so the 4 demos: Voodoo Lady, Take Me Away, Roses Are Free, and Candy. This might not surprise you, but generally speaking, might not have as much to say about the demos for the album tracks, because they are not in their finished form yet, and they pretty much improved upon them for the album. And it's kind of interesting to a degree, but I didn't find it like that fascinating. It was like, oh, they added a guitar solo in the final album version. Well, yeah, there's this giant space of nothingness where there's just nothing, and they're just vamping on the same chord progression, right? So some of these demos I actually enjoyed more than others. Voodoo Lady is probably the most boring one. I think it's probably my least favorite of these demos, just because, like, I don't see much reason to listen to this compared to the finished version. To me, it's just like, there's not any special sort of interesting, neat qualities of this. This did make me appreciate some changes they made to the final arrangement. Like those drum stabs in the chorus of the final album version just aren't there. And that really, it made me realize how much that helps to make the finished version of the song feel less repetitive. Like, you drive me crazy with that boogie, boogie, boogie. Like, and I think it's like the snare drum, and that might be the only part of the song where a snare drum sound is actually used. So it helps it to stick out more. It helps that sort of like chorus part turn around, stick out more in the song, and it just sounds so much better than when they have that same drum beat going on throughout the entire song. But again, it's the demo, so it makes sense that they would do that. And you know what? It made me think I also think the like boogie, like boogie, 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 boogie. Those sort of boogie mouth sound that they make where they're saying boogie in the bridge, where it's vamping on the it sounds like the sound of them saying that, and it's kind of distorted. It's up against the microphone. It's kind of distorted. That might be in the final track during that part, because it has that sort of similar quality of right before the guitar strumming kicks back in, before the final verse of Voodoo Lady, you hear this like guitar strum. And I always assumed it was a guitar strum, but it kind of sounded like him going booka booka booka. Like it's hard to describe, but orally it had a very similar sound to that particular sound of the mouth up against the microphone going booka 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 booka. It feels so stupid saying this out loud, but that was kind of interesting to be like, oh, they might be doing that. Overall, this is like, of the demos, this is my least favorite, because it's not that interesting. It's basically worth like a once over, maybe a twice over if you're just like me and you have nothing better to do with your life. Anyway, it's nothing special. It's a fine, interesting demo a little bit, but it's not that interesting in my opinion. It's fine. It's whatever. I would put this in like, in terms of, do I want to listen to this again? Like, it's probably like a D. Especially since it's just a demo. It's not particularly superior to the original version. I'll put it in C because it doesn't feel right to put it in D. I don't think it quite deserves D. It's a C for me. Do you all have anything else you want to say about the Voodoo Lady demo? Not to backtrack, but there is one funny moment in Dirty Money for me when Aaron says something that's like borderline unintelligible. Overall, I don't like the song though. I agree with you about the song overall. There's a lot of that song that's unintelligible. There's a lot of what he says throughout that song. I remember being like, it's just doing that goofy voice. And it's funny, but I didn't find it to be funny enough to compel me throughout the whole track. I've heard some people say they like the Roses demo more than the final. I disagree, but that's what I've heard from some people. I haven't heard anyone say that, but I kind of assumed maybe I would hear from some people like that. Because I've got well, I kind of spoiled a little bit, but I've said, the Voodoo Lady demo is probably my least favorite of the demos on here, the 4 demos. So I have more positive on the Roses demo, as we'll get into. But next track, this is one that I don't have much to say. I hate to just keep plugging that video, but I really feel like I said everything I need to say about Junkie Boy ahead of time. My opinion is pretty much the same on Junkie Boy. This song just doesn't do much for me. It sounds very cleaned up, even amongst all these other songs. Like, you can tell all these songs are sort of cleaned up to a degree. You can sort of tell that. But Junkie Boy especially, for some reason, like, I don't know if they had better quality in it, but like the drum track especially, it almost makes me wonder if it's probably not real drums, right? But it almost sounds like they're real drums. Like, it sounds pretty darn good. I think just on a fidelity level, it's probably the best sounding out of all these. Do any of you think that, like, just fidelity wise, any of these songs sound better on a technical fidelity level than Junkie Boy? And maybe that's part of the reason why they released that first as sort of the lead single on this. Anyone else shocked that Wash Me Down isn't on here? I am not shocked about that at all, because that is not from the Chocolate and Cheese era, as far as I'm aware. Maybe it is, and I'm just an idiot. Let me know, people, if that song is if Wash Me Down is from this era. That would blow my mind, because that's kind of crazy if it is. But as far as I'm aware, it's not at all. It's from around the White Pepper kind of era. Somewhere around there is when Wash Me Down is from. If it was, if that song was from this era and they had that kicking around, and they didn't put it on this, I would actually murder someone. I'd be so upset. They also didn't put it on Young Shaolin on here though, so I don't know why they didn't put that one on here. Seems pretty doable, especially since that Ween archive thing. But what do you guys have anything to say about Junkie Boy? I feel like I pretty much covered it. It's I don't particularly care for it. It's meh. It's not awful or anything. It's not a terrible song. It's just feels like a demo. It's kind of, again, it's kind of like, I mean, it's a slightly better song than like Dirty Money, where it's just this boring blues dirge and it doesn't change. It's not dynamic, but it's kind of like it in the sense that it's basically just like goofy, eccentric kind of vocals, and that's it. Like, that's all the song really has going for it. And like, it's just sort of whatever. It's a fine little thing. I guess I put it in C. I'm not like ranking these in terms of, like I'm putting Junkie Boy above Belgian Stew or above Voodoo Lady demo, but not above Belgian Stew. I'm not like ranking these individually. I'm just sort of putting them in tiers, because I don't know how I'd rank these individually right now, but that's how I feel about Junkie Boy. It's a song. It's fine, in my opinion. But if other people like it, I understand that. I like Junkie Boy. Sounds like I'd hear it in a musical or something. Yeah, I would say that's because it's the Tim Curry-esque some kind of quality. So you might be thinking of Rocky Horror Picture Show or something in terms of musicals. Because it sounds like that. Jeaner's kind of doing that faux Tim Curry delivery, at least I think. Or maybe she's just doing his thing, right? Love Junkie Boy. Had a great chorus. I wish if it had a better chorus, because isn't the chorus basically him just going like, I don't remember the lyrics, but let's just say it's like, oh, Junkie Boy, love uniform slacks, blah, 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 blah. Like, it just kind of sounds like that's what the chorus is to me. I feel like if it was a little bit more melodic, I feel like it's missing a little something to me. It doesn't feel quite finished. It's sort of unrelikable. He's gone too far. Okay, I remember that. I mean, I didn't remember that a second ago, but thank you for reminding me. It doesn't do a lot for me, but I understand why a lot of people, he's gone too far. Everyone's remembering that except for me. It's fine to me. Lyrics are very real in a sad way too. Oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about the lyrics at all. So I'm guessing, is it just like a heroin junkie sort of cautionary tale, I guess is what the lyrics are about. And maybe with some sort of psychedelic lyrics thrown in about leaping Libras and blah, blah, blah. Is that, if you've read the lyrics, I never paid attention to lyrics. I'm such a dummy. Ween releases a song officially for the first time in over a decade or whatever, and I didn't even bother to pay attention to lyrics. Thank you for picking up the slack for me. If that's what the lyrics are about, that's interesting. And it's very interesting and commendable to have that sort of juxtaposition of a goofy sounding song with serious lyrics about like a junkie boy. I mean, that's, I feel like kind of a jerk for trashing the song. I guess I haven't trashed it. I'm just sort of critiquing it, being fair and honest. But that's my opinion on Junkie Boy. I know a lot of people like it, and that's cool. It's whatever for me. It's easily a C. But I guess for you guys, it's like B. So I would not have it that high. But that's fine. So next up is, now for me, there's these next couple tracks are it picked up a lot for me. These next few tracks, it sort of picked up for me. Smooth Mover. Now, my opinion I enjoyed Smooth Mover more than I remembered this time around. I liked it. I don't know if it was just because it was sounded better and that's it, but I liked it a little bit more. I think it's because in the energy of the album and the sequencing, it kind of elevated the song. Like I can tell this is pretty well sequenced. Like just choosing this group of tracks and putting them in an order, I think they did a solid job for the most part of putting them in an order. This is where the bonus material kind of picks up steam for me. The tempo and the tempo adds a lot of energy to it that it wouldn't have had otherwise. I also think the guitar riff is pretty fun. Whatever, you know the riff if you heard it. I can't do it right now, all right? The voice is too gravelly. The vocal sounds pretty cool, and it's oddly satisfying on the, you put the handcuffs on your heart if you want to be sure. You put the handcuffs on your heart if you want to be sure. It's oddly satisfying there in that part. I kind of wish they'd developed that part a little bit more, you know, and maybe even repeat it a little bit more. That's how I felt about that. I liked it. It's kind of weird also that there's no guitar solo. It's just like minute 40, just like punky, get in, get out. And I'm still of the opinion that this sounds like a Moist Boys song, but I also think that Ween could have taken this and added a bit more to it to shape it into a really fun track. Like I said, expand on the chorus, or like make it a little bit more like an actual chorus. Make it just a tiny little bit more dynamic. Like maybe have a break in the middle or something. As is, it's still pretty fun. I think it works better in the context of all these other tracks. So I enjoyed it more than I did last time that I listened to this. What do you all think of Smooth Mover? Let me know. As for me, I thought it was, I guess I put it in B tier. I'm not ranking these, but I would say I like it more than I got it, but not on the same level as being like A or S tier. It would be B or C tier, like a strong C or a light B tier in the context of Ween's overall discography. So that's what I think of that. Smooth Mover, no comment. I actually don't know how to feel about the song. Okay, interesting. For me, this is one of those like energy blasts that doesn't really work in any capacity more than that. It's kind of like Pumping for the Man, but with less personality. That is a very good way to describe it. That is essentially all it is, Hayden Boozer. It's just sort of all energy, and there's not much else to it. I like the riff pretty decently, and again, I think in the context of all these, Pumping for the Man, you're absolutely right. It has less personality, and Pumping for the Man crushes this. But it also, again, you can kind of hear, even though it kind of sounds like they're verging on like Moist Boys, which was around the same time as when Chocolate and Cheese came out. I don't remember if it came out in 93 or 94. I think there's some dispute of when the first Moist Boys EP came out, but it kind of sounds like it's interesting where it's sort of veering in that direction, but this is post Pure Guava. This is like around the Pure Guava time. And they're probably trying to do a similar thing there with this, but obviously Pumping for the Man, it's just a way better song. The lyrics are way better. The bass line, the guitar solo that's in there, it has an actually really memorable and fun chorus, which this does not, So I find it interesting that I seem to be I'm not blown away by this song at all. I think it mostly is just because I liked it more around this time, because like the first time I ever listened to Smooth Mover, the first time I listened to it was just on its own, and I felt how you all feel about it right now, where it's just like a nothing, just blast of energy and that's it, and a worse version of Pumping for the Man. Now, I think it's just because in the context of the rest of these tracks, it was a nice sort of jolt of energy and that's it. So nothing amazing, but yeah, it's a very light B to a C in the context of Ween's overall discography, probably just a C. But it's say in the context of all these tracks, it's a B. It's kind of middle of the road, So those are those. Those are those. So in continuing, so I like Smooth Over fine. Next track, Church Fire. This is where it's kind of a solid winning streak for these next couple. You all let me know what you think of Church Fire, because it seems to be liked amongst fans so far. And I gotta say, this one is kind of amazing. It made me laugh so hard when I heard it. I'm not gonna lie. It is the one song out of all these I immediately played it twice in a row. I was listening to the whole thing, writing notes down for every single track, and I listened to this one twice in a row. I was so entertained by it. It made me laugh so hard. That's raised up, absolutely correct. It's solos in all caps. It goes hard and it doesn't really sound like any other Ween song. That's very true. Again, this sounds like it could be on Chocolate and Cheese and also Pure Guava. It's sort of an intermediate where it has that weird one-off sort of little experimental thing out of nowhere, fitting Pure Guava more, like the lo-fi 4-track thing, but it sounds a little bit more developed and a little bit more crafted. This is like the funniest thing ever. This song is so funny. It perfectly gets across the concept of some local from Philly. Or, when I first heard it, because I'm an idiot, it gave me like a surfer bro dude from California or something kind of impression vibe, but I believe it's supposed to be a Philly impression. And it's funny because I have family from Philly, not Philly, it's a family from Pennsylvania. And I was thinking about this accent and I was like, wait a minute, is that a Pennsylvania Philly accent? And then I looked up like Pittsburgh accent, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania accent, and it made me realize that like some of my older family members have that accent, and I never realized it before. It's not as severe as the accent in the song is, but it made me realize that part of my family has that accent to a degree, and I thought it was just so funny when I made that realization. But this song so perfectly and so hilariously gets across this idea of some local from Philly, some dude that Jeaner just brilliantly impersonates. He's just naively reciting what he saw on the news last night or on an episode of like Unsolved Mysteries or something. They've got that serial killer synth line going that sounds just like the score you'd hear on those shows. It's so funny juxtaposing that with that. It's so perfect. This is this random dude's perspective on some random disaster that just happened very recently. And it's just like, oh gee, 2 men dead. How could this be? That's my favorite line. How could this be? You just explained everything that happened. You're like, it makes me laugh just thinking about it, you know? This dude's just a dummy, and he's just sitting there with his mouth open. I just imagine him like literally staring at the church fire, even though he's like, he heard it, he saw it last night on Action News. It's Plans in Effect for Spectrum 2. But I just imagine him with his mouth open, like almost drooling, going, duh, as he's staring at the church fire, like not doing anything, not helping anyone. It's like, whoa, that's kind of crazy, bro. But the sound, that's like screeching guitar or synth thing in the refrain, the church fire. That's pretty cool. And it makes it funnier, the fact that the song actually has a pretty genuinely creepy soundscape. And it's just over top of this genuinely creepy soundscape, sort of. It's cheesy, but they're kind of getting across that idea. I just genuinely love the juxtaposition of that with the utterly incongruous vocals and these like blatant lyrics, which are the no subtlety. It's just so hilarious to me. I kind of love this. This is so awesome. Church Fire feels very much like a Residents song. I've never listened to the Residents, so maybe I'll have to check out the Residents. This is kind of awesome. I've seen a lot of people super disturbed by this one, LMAO. I was fairly shocked on my first listen because I just wasn't expecting it. I was shocked to a degree as well, but I mean, the song is called Church Fire. I was almost expecting it to sound more in the vein of Smooth Mover, where it's like kind of punky. And you're like, yeah, Church Fire, yeah, or something, or Stop, Look, Listen, and Learn. To me, Church Fire had a more serious tone to it, but that's just me. You know, I mean, obviously what he's describing is, the serial killer synth and the noise, the soundscape and what he's describing. I understand that, but to me, listening to this, I do not get serious tone or disturbing at all. I get that a lot, infinitely more from like Spinal Meningitis, because the perspective of that song is like the child dying, and it's so dark, but it's the juxtaposition, again, more so in the context of the music itself and the fact that you're like, what am I listening to? It kind of adds to the pitch black humor of that song. This one, I wouldn't even call it black humor. It's just like, it's making fun of some local yokel who's just like, 2 men dead. How could this be? How could this be? You just saw what happened, and you know exactly what happened. You're acting like, well, I don't know how this could be. 400th at the bottom, 900th on the top. Heat that'll make your fucking eyes pop. Like, he's just talking. He's talking as if he knows what he's talking about, but he just saw it on the news and he's speaking. It's so funny to me. I love it. It's incredibly funny. And just him going church fire. It's like he's the character in the song is trying to go for this like mic drop moment where he's like, what else can I say? It was church fire. Like he thinks he's special because he saw this on the news and he's like trying to impress all his friends or something. That's the vibe I get from this song. It makes me laugh is all it does. I kind of love this. It's such a strange song for me to love, but I do. And that's kind of part of the magic with Ween sometimes. They can make me love songs and something that barely counts as a song like this. Again, this is more of like a track or an experimental, track than it is like a song, quote unquote, normal song, quote unquote normal. But I love it. Church Fire is awesome. If this was on Pure Guava or whatever, or even Chocolate and Cheese, it's hard for me to imagine on Chocolate and Cheese just because, I know that album so well and the track list is so ingrained into me. And I know that some people might say like, oh, replace Candy on Chocolate and Cheese with this and that album would be perfect. I'm not sure if I could see the argument for that, but I need more. I need I need more. I need more time to process whether or not I agree with that. But I can kind of see the argument. Which do I like more, Church Fire or Candy? Right now, probably Church Fire. This song to me is just hilarious. I kind of love it. It's like bordering on an S tier for me. Maybe even an S tier just in the context of Ween's whole discography, their entire output. I kind of love this. If you listen to The Residents, be sure to prepare yourself. Oh boy. The Residents were a big influence for them. You know what? I know they've listed like a bunch of influences, unsurprisingly, but that probably makes sense. I don't know if they were they a punk band, or were they, they're from the 70s and have 5 times more albums than Ween. Oh boy. So would you say that they're like an experimental kind of band, like in an alternative, just kind of not alt rock, like 90s alt rock, but just like weirder kind of experimental avant-garde stuff? Okay. Big influence for them. Songs like So Many People in the Neighborhood, I'm pretty sure. Okay. And they've said, like they've actually said like the Residents were an influence. Residents make Molly sound like Taylor Swift. Okay, maybe I won't like the Residents. But you know what? I'll check out some of it. The Residents are like if the Uncanny Valley vibe was music, where it's like almost music, but you're like, but no, it's not. Dean was on a documentary about them. Shoot. Well, that's cool. I've seen that bit where he's talking about, I don't know if it's from a documentary about the Butthole Surfers, but he's talking about how all the best shows he's ever gone to are all Butthole Surfers shows. It's like one Bootsy Collins show and the other, or like a P-Funk show, and the other 9 are Butthole Surfers. So that's pretty awesome. If you do listen to the Residents, I'd suggest Duck Stab. Duck Stab and Not Available are good albums to start, in my opinion, or the Commercial album. I will check them out at some point. Maybe not right this second, because that seems like a lot to take in. Anyway, but you know, if they're an influence on them, then that's cool. So Church Fire, I'll just screw it. Yeah, it's an S. It's an S tier, and that makes me want to put Crappy Anniversary Jimmy up there with it in S tier, because musically, I do probably think that's the best song on the album. So it feels like, by the end of this, I'll probably put it up there. Take Me Away. So the demo for Take Me Away, again, this is kind of continuing this solid streak for me. I enjoyed the demo for Take Me Away a surprising amount. There were a few things that I kind of wish they applied, at least somewhat, to the final version. Because Take Me Away is a great opener, but it's not like the greatest song ever on its own. It's kind of just whatever as a song, because it's just take me away to some other land. I gotta go away from my girl because she drives me crazy. She took my love away. She took it to another man. I gotta get away from that girl before she drives me crazy. It's just that repeated a bunch. It's just this little stanza or whatever. It's a super basic repetitive song, but it's elevated by the performance and just the out the gate energy. It works specifically as a great opener for the album. And I was expecting this to not, and it didn't blow me away. It's not like an amazing demo or anything that makes me rethink the song, but I liked it more than I thought I was going to. Like Voodoo Lady, I like it decidedly less than the actual song, to the point where I'm just like, why would I listen to this? And I could say that for all the demos, but there's certain qualities that I enjoy that are not present in the final version of Take Me Away, like the fact that there is either flanging or a chorus effect on the bass, which I thought was interesting and weird, and the distortion or like telephone effect that's on the vocals adds a little bit. I also dig Jeaner's vocal on this a lot. He seems if I had to describe it in terms of the performance, he seems a bit more flamboyant and like zesty. Zesty. Okay. Yeah, you gotta think of some word to describe it, right? He seems a little bit more zesty in his bravado. The album one's a little bit more soulful, a little bit more like Jim Morrison or something, a little bit more like he's singing to a small bar full of people. This one's a bit more, take me away to some other land, you know. It's a distinct, there's a distinction in the performance between the two. The Diener solo, I assume it's Diener, the solo also, the fact that it's way verbier, way more drenched in reverb, and it's cleaner, significantly cleaner. That was kind of a surprise. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting just like loud, distorted solo. It's just kind of whatever. But even the note choices and the phrasing, they're somewhat similar to the album. They have lots of slides and whatnot. It's like on the G string. I did a lesson for that song if you're curious and you don't know how to play it. But it's a fun song to play, especially the solo. It's not complicated, but it's a lot of fun to play. And the fact that it started off as this like super clean solo, because the fact that it's so noisy is kind of a trademark to me. But the fact that it started out pretty similar compositionally, but it was just sounded way different, that's kind of interesting. And I also like that it's like 2.5 minutes. It's a little bit, shorter. I think it helps a little bit. It's interesting. This made me realize like how much more psychedelic and strange this version is compared to the final one. I found that pretty interesting, Take Me Away is Take Me Away, Nothing to Write Home About. I agree with you to an extent. It's not like a completely different song, but I thought this one was a little bit more interesting to listen to and compare to the final version. Zesty Jeaner. Yeah, I can kind of see that. Overall, I like Take Me Away. It's a good one. I guess relative to these tracks, I would put it in B tier. Maybe even A tier. It's not quite A tier, but I would put it in B tier. Relative to their catalog, probably C tier. Just because the final album version is better, but that's how I feel about it. Yeah. Sasha. So getting towards near the end here. I was kind of expecting, well, what do you all think of Sasha, first of all? But, for me, Sasha, I was kind of expecting the name that gets mentioned in Freeman 76. My girl. Oh, I can't say it. My girl, Sasha, looking good on the street. Can't do it. But I was kind of expecting that the girl who shares that name to get sort of a similarly soft sounding song. But nope. Nope, not at all. And unfortunately for me, this one didn't do much for me. It's not very memorable. It's a pretty static composition. It doesn't have much in the way of variance in the vocals or accompaniment. It's just sort of noisy. I don't even have that much to say about it, honestly. This one did not do much for me. Unless do you all like Sasha? Because I don't care for it particularly at all. It's just kind of a thing that exists for me. I don't see myself particularly going back to it. I don't feel quite in the mood to put it in D tier, but honestly, like the vocals kind of irritate me, and the whole song, there's like nothing memorable about the song, and yet it irritates me. It's D tier. I don't particularly like it. I was kind of disappointed in that too. Honestly, that's all I have to say about Sasha. It's not like the worst thing ever, but it doesn't do much for me. So I guess that's it. Moving on. The Roses Are Free demo. That's all to say about Sasha. The Roses Are Free demo. I can see why some people would maybe prefer this one. It's interesting hearing it in a different key. It's cool, honestly, because I believe this is in A flat. It's like a whole step lower. It's B flat on the album, I believe. And those vocal harmonies, they still sound great. I really like them on this, even on this demo. I like the keyboard. It doesn't have all the effects and stuff, and obviously the big sort of that sort of like I guess it would be 16th notes. Yeah, it would be 16th notes at that tempo. That sort of stereo sort of. I don't know if that's just a phaser sound or whatever, but they got it going on the drums. That drum beat on the album version just sounds so wonderful. And obviously it doesn't have that, so it doesn't have the stomp, but the keyboard sound on there is still, it's pretty similar to what's on the final album, all things considered. And I don't remember if it's doing this on the album version, the final version, but in the bridge, it's doing that like the classic rock and roll rhythm, the keyboard with the sixth, like you know, it's kind of fun. And I also like some of the weirder like percussive sounds. I think they're from the guitars. They sound like harmonics, or like a hammer hitting a little piece of steel, like dun dun king dun dun king. Like there's a little tiny little king song sound. And it's kind of made it unique compared to the album version. Maybe it's on there and it's just buried, but it was kind of neat to hear that on a demo, you know. You hear those little like tiny bells and whistles. There aren't tons of them, but to hear them on the demo is kind of neat. It also made me wonder if there's an extra note in the bass line of the album version that I've never heard, because this one was like, I always thought it was during the during that the bass line was like do 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 do. That's what I always thought it was. But this one, it sounded like it was do do da da do do da da. Like there's an extra little fourth note in there that I never picked up on. I can't tell if that's in the final version or not. I guess it probably is. I don't know why they would change the bass line from there. Maybe they didn't. It doesn't make a huge difference to me. Honestly, I think it sounds good either way. It's a good bass line. I really like, my favorite thing about the demo is I really like the development of the solo harmony at the end. And it's kind of, it's the structure of the ending. It's like when they sometimes play it live. Cause I know sometimes they have done the final verse, but sometimes they just do the verses and then they do the big solo and they just write it off until they do the big ending off the solo. And that's basically what they do on this demo. And which way do you prefer them to play Roses Are Free? Do you prefer it when they just sort of like ride it out and say, okay, let's just sort of do the solo and that's it? Or do you prefer them to go back into another verse? Or do you just like it more when they just do the opening verses and then they just do... I like adding the last lyric, but it makes no big difference to me. Yeah, live, it doesn't make that big of a difference to me. I'm just so used to hearing it on the album in a recorded capacity in a non-live setting. It's a little cool and kind of strange, unusual to hear it structurally how they sometimes play it live. I don't know how... I believe they played Roses Are Free when I saw them live, but I don't remember how the structure was when they did that, but I don't recall. They probably, if I had to guess, I would say they probably don't do the final lyric and they probably just write it off if I had to guess, but I'm not sure. So that's that. Overall, I like this demo. I like, what was I saying about the solo? I kind of wish they kept the way the harmony at the end of the solo. I kind of like that, how there's the different guitars, they kind of come together, and after the song sort of has that like big trash can ending of the different guitars up, I don't know how to properly emulate it, but it's just like all the lead guitars kind of harmonize together and they slide together in the end in this kind of fun way. I like that. That was cool. I kind of wish they kept that, I would not have minded it because on the album it fades out. I would not have minded it if they just kept that idea of ending it the way they ended this demo, more or less, you know, a little bit tighter, but that same ending idea. I would have liked that. Anyway, so I like the Roses Are Free demo. To me, it's not better than the actual version, but I understand why some people would think that. In the context of their overall discography, I'll put it in B, because I heard this instead of the... I definitely think that the album version is absolutely superior, but I would not mind hearing this instead, you know, assuming I still get to listen to the album version, you know. Like, if I just put this on shuffle and I heard this one, I'm not going to be like, oh man, I wish I was listening to the actual version. Even though I do like it more, I'd be like, yeah, I'm fine with listening to this. It's solid. Because it's still a good song at the end of the day. It's still Roses Are Free, which is a great song. But in the context of these, I would put this in A tier because it's just such a really good song. Roses Are Free is just such a great song. And you know, I am going to move. So my S tier for these crap, say crap, because it's crappy anniversary, Jimmy. For this crop of songs, I think these are definitely like the best two. Spoiler alert for these two. These are the best two. And these are, I think these fit in these tiers pretty well so far. Where I think Warm Socks and Roses Are Free are amongst these songs. They're on the upper echelon, whatever. Okay, so I like the Roses Are Free demo. I don't really like Fade Out Endings. My friend Jebby would like love to meet you and just like crap all over me and my opinions in front of you. Because I don't mind fade outs, kind of. I'm okay with fade outs, and he passionately hates them. It's not a big deal, but I definitely prefer definitive endings. It feels anticlimactic. That's fair. It's all fair. Have you seen the animated Candy promo for Chocolate and Cheese? Yes. It's so weird and kind of freaky and scary. It's cool. It's just weird. You know, it's cool. With the green. Yeah, it's cool. I think fade out endings can work, but not always. Well, yeah, I mean, I think it can be done better sometimes than other times. I don't get like when people just say it's always awful, like without exception. I disagree with that. But yeah, obviously sometimes fade outs are just sort of whatever and they're kind of annoying, but other times it feels appropriate. It works well when it's on repetition because it gives an impression that the song goes on forever, which is cool. Yeah. Sometimes it just hits better for other people than it does other people, and that's fine. So it's always awful without exception. Yeah, well, Jebby, I'll be seeing you tomorrow, so I get to duke it out with you verbally then. I'm not going to do it in public anymore because I know how much you get angry at me when I embarrass you in front of all these good little boys and girls. Anyway. That's so weird. Anyway, so back the last two tracks, thank God. I've been having fun doing this. I hope you all have had fun. It's just my throat's kind of giving out and whatnot. But man, I love it was a fun experience listening to the first time. And I'm so glad I get to talk with you people about it. It's awesome. The demo for Candy. The demo, it's shorter. It's like 2.5 minutes. So I think there's an argument to be made that this is like the better version, especially for people who just hate Candy. It's because it's basically the same. There's difference. Well, so overall with it, I kind of like the small woodblock or like clav sounding thing, playing those like 16th or maybe there's 32nd notes in the main drum beat. Like tick 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 tick. I kind of like that. I really don't understand why they put the Candy demo on. Well, probably for the same reason they put the other demos on, the Voodoo Lady demo. It's probably just to pad out the overall release, honestly. So I'm guessing you, Captain Flood, are not like the hugest fan of the Candy demo. I think it's fine. It's fine. I can see an argument for if you just hate Candy. I can understand because Candy's like, it's either 4 minutes or closer to 4.5 minutes. I think it's closer to 4 minutes. And this is 2.5 minutes. So just on the fact that it's shorter, I can understand why people would prefer it. it's all things considered, it's not that dissimilar to the final track compositionally, aside from it being shorter. I imagine that makes it better for a lot of people, but the album version, has the Jeaner inside of a trunk of a car doing donuts vocals through a telephone. So I think that kind of evens it out. I think both. I think both. That's kind of what pushes it over the edge for me, because every time I hear it, it always makes me laugh, knowing that that's the story behind those, and it always makes me wish. I kind of wish those were higher up in the mix on the album version. It doesn't. Oh, it also doesn't have those false endings of the album version, which are kind of great, and it also perfectly, in a weird way, kind of segues into Buenos Tardes, Amigo. The demo's just too similar. That's fair. It's not that crazy different. The demo sounds super similar to the normal song. I felt like it was going to be a lot different. It feels so empty without Jeaner yelling and Diener from the trunk. Jeaner screaming "Grandma" in the trunk is too funny. Saying "Grandma"? I remember him going, "Hey, Candy." I remember doing that. I don't remember him saying "Grandma," but I guess maybe that's what he's saying. I'll re-listen to it, but it sounded like that to me. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's funny, and I kind of wish it was. So he says Diener, but it sounds similar to. I know he does say Diener. I know that from how he says it. Because Diener's like driving the car and he's throwing up. I imagine he threw up. I have to reread all the stuff. I got to do all my research after I do this, because that's how it works, right? You do your research afterwards, like an idiot. So yeah, Candy. It does sound similar to Grandma. So yeah, Candy. It's not that different from the final one. It's not super exceptional or extraordinary, but it's kind of funny that they have it on here. I wish it was more different. I was almost hoping it'd be a lot weirder, but it makes sense that it's not, because it's just a demo. It's fine. That's how I feel about the Candy demo. I guess I would put it. I guess the fact, if you just hate Candy, the fact that it's so much shorter kind of gives it an advantage. So I think it's like Take Me Away, where it has a couple advantages over the final version, sort of. But it also, I don't know, it feels more like it should be in the vein of the Voodoo Lady demo, where it's nothing super exceptional. I'm torn between C tier or B tier, for that one, or it's like, I don't know, it feels, it's nothing exceptional, but at least there's some sort of reason to listen to it more than not more, but like if you just prefer it over the original, whereas I don't think Voodoo Lady really has that. So that is what I would say about that one. I guess I put it in C tier because it's just kind of there. But with that said, final track, I Really Miss You and I'm All Alone. I guess technically when you think about it, if God forbid Ween does not release anything else, this is the final Ween song, technically, right? The final, officially released Ween song, which is weird to think about, but I guess technically that's true, right? It's kind of weird to think about if you want to get semantical or granular or whatever word. When you think about it that way, it's putting a lot of unnecessary pressure on the song. But, so for me, it's, if you saw at the beginning of the stream, I did a cover of it. I did a little acoustic cover of the song. If you want to see that at the beginning of the stream, I might do it again if anyone wants me to, but I don't think anyone's going to ask me to. But in terms of this song, it's fine. I was hoping I would like it more than I did. It is a softer song, which, I kind of anticipated from the title, and I'm glad that it's like the opposite of Stop, Look, Listen, and Learn, where I thought that would be a little bit more softer and more whimsical in tone, and it was like this gruff, grimy, disgusting song. This lived up to the title. Solid song, similar vein to Oh My Dear, I'm Falling in Love. Same type of vibe. I like it like an A or S tier compared to the rest of the album, I feel. You know, I like Oh My Dear, Falling in Love just so much more than this. And another song to compare this to, I think the more apt song to compare this to is, I remember Ween Kid said this was similar to a song on the pod, and I agree. And the song that it made me think of was actually She Fucks Me. That song on the pod, in my opinion, sucks. I hate it on the pod. I hate that song on the pod. It's kind of funny. It's pretty funny, but it's just grating, and it's a shame in my opinion, because that song is a great song. You don't get the full appreciation of how great that song is unless they play it live. Like, I hate She Fucks Me Too. I hate the album version. The album version. Live, I love it. I think it's a fantastic song. I love that song. It's really just the fact that on the pod, you can't hear it and it's all grimy sounding. It also kind of reminds me to a degree of off of Pure Guava, Loving You Through It All, where it's a soft kind of, it has these like down pitched, like half asleep vocals. Loving you through it all. The rain, sun or rain. Both versions are masterpieces. I understand why people like the album version. It's just not for me. And it hides how genuinely solid that song is. Which is why I kind of resent it to a degree. But, you know, I don't think the song is as well written as either of those songs, as She Fucks Me or Oh My Dear, Falling in Love. Or, well, I think this is probably I like this better. You know what? I do like this better than Loving You Through It All. That song's never really done anything for me. That always just felt like like filler, and it's just kind of weird. Like, it's not that weird, it's just kind of weird. It's whatever. So I like this more than that. Live version is better though. The steel guitar sounds are beautiful. Oh yeah, they did. Steel guitar. Did they do She Fucks Me on with when did they have the steel guitar on that? Or was that when they were doing with the Shit Creek Boys, or when did they play that? When did they incorporate steel guitar? Have they done that a lot, or just like a couple times? Or, oh man, that sounds like it would fit that song like a glove. That sounds like it'd be really pretty. But okay, back to this song. I did that acoustic cover at the beginning. I like it fine. I think with a more solid vocal turnaround, which is kind of what I tried to do when I covered at the beginning, I feel like this could be shaped into a pretty good song. But as is, it's just okay. I liked in the middle when there's like a little solo. It sounds like an affected bass playing the solo, even though the solo is just copying the dead simple melody. The use of those like weird miscellaneous natural sounds or thunderstorm sounds at the end was pretty cool. It was kind of a cool way to end it. Live version better though. Steel guitar. It was Painting the Town Brown. That's right. That's the version that I listened to. Even though I love the Live in Chicago version, but that's not on Spotify, unfortunately. Might just be a keyboard. It could be, but it's probably not. I think it's almost certainly a real pedal steel, because that was when they were, a lot of those shows were fun when they were touring with Shit Creek Boys. So I would probably bet dollars to donuts that is a genuine pedal steel. That's steel guitar or whatever. Sorry. But yeah, I think I Really Miss You and I'm All Alone. It's fine. I don't want to say I prefer my own version, because that's kind of not a great thing to do. I kind of wish that they, as a weird little Ween demo, it's actually a fine note to end this. Again, as the bonus disc goes and how it's curated, it's really well done, and how the tracks are sequenced. Just if you're asking me to compare it to all these great Ween songs they have throughout their catalog, it doesn't quite measure up. And these are, these are just demos. They're not the greatest things ever, but that's fine. I Really Miss You is A, at least, in my opinion. I imagine, I think it's probably, I'd say amongst these songs, it's A or maybe B. It's, for me, it's like, it's either a very high B to a very light A. It's kind of teetering here for me. Is how I would rate it. But I like how it ends the bonus disc, the album. I like how it ends it. So that's nice. I guess I'm feeling nice, so I'll put it there. And with that is it. This has been my unnecessarily long review / ranking of, but hey, it's a new Ween material, so I figured I should probably say all I felt like I wanted to say about it, right? I didn't want to leave any stone unturned. I didn't want to feel like, I should have mentioned this. I feel like I've covered, as of right now, everything I wanted to say about this. My opinion could change in time. I could grow to love some of these songs or grow to hate some of these songs as time goes on. But that's how I felt about pretty much all these, right? So thank you so much. If there's anything that I'd like to hear of, like, what's your, if any of you have like a favorite song from any of this bonus disc, any of your overall thoughts on the bonus material and the album remaster. Remember when I talked about that like 5 hours ago? If you have any thoughts about any of that, let me know. Overall, as I said, I'm positive on this. I like this. I think it's a solid release for what it is, but the key phrase there is for what it is. This is not anywhere near on the same level as like a Shinola Volume 1 or anything, and I'm most interested in this potentially sort of opening up doors potentially for other releases, as I stated in that video. My opinions overall are pretty unchanged. So I enjoyed this. The bonus material, bonus disc, was a mixed bag, but it was overall solid. Bonus disc is solid. I'm just glad to hear from them again. I agree. I absolutely agree with that. It's solid for what it is. It's a positive overall. It's not going to blow anyone's socks off if you're not already a huge fan of the band, I imagine. Some strong points, but it felt kind of meh in some areas. Yeah, I agree. That's why I say it's a mixed bag. Some hits and misses, but overall positive. And I don't consider this one. This is just my opinion. I don't consider this part of Ween's official studio album discography. To me, this is, honestly, I would consider this closer to like Craters of the Sack or something. In terms of, would I rank this I would not rank Craters of the Sack alongside, God, Ween, Satan, The Pod, Pure Guava, Chocolate and Cheese, The Mollusk, 12 Golden Country Greats. To me, this is like a side thing, right? And as a side thing, it was pretty cool. And it was awesome to get, this new release from the band. I'm very grateful for it. So if I sound negative, it's because I'm tired, and it's because I went in, when at first, I was slightly disappointed at first when Junkie Boy came out. But overall, this was a pretty cool experience, and I'm glad that it exists. I'm positive on it overall. So please don't treat me as if I'm some sort of curmudgeon who hates Ween or hates them because of this or hates this release. I don't hate this bonus disc at all. I like it. I love Ween. And Chocolate and Cheese is still amazing, of course. So let's go. If you haven't heard any of this material, I recommend it. And give Chocolate and Cheese the remaster. Give the album a re-listen. It holds up all these 30 years later. It's crazy that it's been that long. And the Mollusk is not far behind at all. That's a real trip. The Voyage to the Corner of the Globe is indeed a real trip as well. And Corner of the Globe, That's the kind of voyage you feel like you're going on when you listen to a Ween album. Even this bonus disc. I remember when I was listening to the whole thing, it was like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh boy. By the end, I was like, there's still like 6 more songs to get through. It's kind of daunting, you know, but in kind of a good way, you know. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Be signing off here. I know I haven't put out a lesson video in a while, and I promise I'll put out more of those soon. I don't do it on purpose and try to avoid it. I just haven't gotten around to it, and I promise you I will get around to putting those out sooner than later. And also, I haven't filmed it yet, but I have I have a script written for the next What Makes This Song Brown video. I'm going to put that out. So I'm going to do that. And thank you very much for watching. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on this new material. And I'll see you later. Thank you.